uncontrollable flesh. Why would anybody watch a scum show like Videodrones?
And we are back. Videodrones, episode 5. This is
Part 1.
Part 1. This is a very special episode.
Yes.
This is the first episode with a guest today, ReddVelvet, aka Carson Buchan, aka my oldest friend and one of the most beautiful men that I know on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Wonderful person.
Of my oldest friends as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Aw.
We all know each other from high school and beyond. Carson lives around the corner from me, so we have been friends since we were 2, now 25, and that's a very, very special friendship that I cherish a lot. And I know that my friend here is really into World War II history.
Just history in general.
And history in general, yeah, but World War II history a lot. I remember talking about that with you a lot. Excuse me, my God. Someday.
We did.
You could see the gears turning there, like my eyes moving back and forth.
The hamster died in your on the wheel in your brain.
Exactly. And Sam, you are also a big fan of World War II history.
Huge into World War II history. Absolutely.
Yeah. And because of that, we figured that a good middle ground between the three of us would be Band of Brothers, as we can see at the top of the screen on the marquee here. So today we are covering Band of Brothers, Season 1, Episode 1 of Kurahi. Kurahi, thank you. Kurahi. Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, I figure, Carson, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Oh God.
Just like what your interests are, and just give some context to the listenership.
Give us a hot top 5 of your favorite movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh God,
that's a good thing.
I wish I had some heads up that you guys are gonna throw this at me.
No, I gotta get you on the spot.
Shit.
You gotta learn to swim by jumping.
So are we talking like? Anyways, I'm Carson. As Tony said, I've known him pretty much my whole life. Huge history, and Sam I've known since I was 14, so we go way back as well. Yeah, I'm a huge history nerd. Not so much World War II, but more the ancient stuff. But this is still something that I really like. Band of Brothers is probably my favorite miniseries just ever made.
There's a lot of them. There's
so
like
good.
30 of them.
Yeah,
I know, and they're all, none of them hold a light to Band of Brothers, if you ask me. But
Chernobyl was pretty good. I'll say that.
Chernobyl was pretty good. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. To see one of like a top 5.
Yeah, like movie wise, like you're a Hobbit head. You're a certified Hobbit head.
Can 3 of the 5 video movies be all of the Lord of the Rings? Is that allowed? All right, all 3 of the Lord of the Rings. They're all there.
As long as the other 2 are the first 2 Hobbit movies. Only if.
Sure, we're gonna go with that.
Right.
Top 5 movies. That's a really hard question to answer.
That's fair.
To be honest,
You can come back to it at the end.
Yeah, we can move back to it. Yeah,
absolutely. If you think by the end of the episode, if you're like, the burning, the question's been answered, then you can throw them out. Yeah.
If I remember.
Yeah, like mid-episode. Oh yeah, one of my favorite movies. It's gonna be like Saving Private Ryan for sure. That's gonna be something that pops up in your head, I imagine.
I feel like we'll talk about that anyway. So.
I've never seen it. I can't really speak to it in any sort of authority,
Okay.
I've always wanted to, but the 3.5 hours and relentless horror and terror is pretty daunting.
It's not
to watch.
Okay, it's not relentless, but
it seems pretty relentless for like 3 hours. Just like
it's 19, like 2.5 hours.
2.5. Why did I think it was like the length of fucking Satin Tango?
Not.
Like it's not 7 hours. I guess it's only 2.5 hours.
In your head, it's like The Irishman.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're watching the wrong movie. You're like, Saving Private Ryan isn't at all about what I thought it was about. It's
What is Al
talking about
Pacino doing
Teamsters.
in this?
I don't understand.
I don't know, man.
Where is Jimmy Hoffa? I want one of those bumper stickers. Okay, so let's dive right into it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sam, you are taking the lead on the beats of this episode.
Yeah,
You have taken that upon yourself, so we appreciate that.
Try to keep the kind of
The flow.
format of everything, keep the flow of everything as we go through it.
Yeah, the
And I
narrative
imagine,
structure.
yeah, I took a few less notes today and more so just focused on like trying to like beat for beat, picking
Mhm.
up all the nuance in each
Okay.
scene. So yeah, I assume based on what you've already said that you guys have more extensive narrative notes than I do.
Yeah, I have a lot of kind of just like reactionary notes just kind of off the top of my head. This show is very grounded in reality, and it's not very
Incredibly, yeah.
it's not very esoteric in any sort of way. Like there's no real, as far as I can tell, like symbolism. Like there's nods to things like other pieces of war media, which we'll get into. But it seems like it's kind of something that's less to be analyzed and more kind of just broken down and spoken about and kind of appreciated, because this is a really like true to life. This is a story. This is a story about people.
A docudrama,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. And
It's taken off of like a book that Winters wrote after the war, based off of his accounts of the war, and they made it into the series.
Actually,
Wow.
it's a the author is a Stephen Ambrose, and he was a reporter, I think, and he conducted interviews with all of the surviving members of Easy Company, the veterans of Easy Company who would talk to him. So the series is based off of that book and all of their accounts.
That's very cool.
It is, and it's produced. The teleplay also is by Tom Hanks, but it's produced by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, and they very much made this as a kind of a companion piece to Saving Private Ryan.
It fits really well.
Very much in the, it's very much in the same vein.
It feels like it's in the same universe. Like it literally is.
It literally is.
But you know, it feels like it's in the same cinematic universe. Like Jurassic World and like the Jurassic Park series are in like completely different eras, but they still follow the same kind of aesthetic and like narrative threads. That's kind of what I'm hinting towards. I'm just gonna get up the information here about the series just to give people some background. It was made in 2001. It's a 1-season miniseries. It was 10 episodes long. It's gonna take a long time to get through this cast list because there are so many people in this cast.
Can I just say, I am always fascinated watching these sort of like large cast military dramas like this and like Black Hawk Down
1918
and Saving Private Ryan 1918. It's but specifically like Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers and Black Hawk Down, because it's like, you know, late 90s or the 2000s, because the cast is huge and almost everybody in this you now recognize as being like a huge star. Like there are so many people in this, and you're like, oh wow, like, you know, Michael Fassbender, Simon Pegg is
Fallon's
in this
show.
Simon Pegg showed up. I was completely shocked by that.
It's the cast is massive.
The cast is great. I gotta say, like, hats off, because they
do a really good job at like acting out the actual people. Portraying the actual people. They had a lot to go off of too, right? Like they interviewed all the vets.
A lot of the veterans.
They know their mannerisms and everything like that. So it's not like they're going off of nothing here.
Yeah, and a lot of the veterans are actually on the set, giving like feedback in real time while they were filming the show as well.
That's really great that they paid that much respect to the veterans. I really appreciate that.
There's like a painstaking attention to detail with like everything about the show, the equipment, the accuracy of events. It's insane.
It's fantastic. Like that's the production value is through the roof. Like it's one of the highest production values I've seen in a TV series, and it was made in 2001.
This show cost $125 million.
My God. As much as it cost them to make Grand Theft Auto 4. Insane.
Is it really? Holy shit.
Yeah. The figure, I seem to remember Grand Theft Auto 4 cost like $115 million to make. Some crazy shit like that. That's insane, right?
the difference in quality
Yeah.
that $10 million will
Yeah.
get you.
Seriously. All they needed was that extra 10.
$10 million IRL Nico Bellic.
That would be good, man. I'd watch a real life Grand Theft Auto a movie with the Nico Bellic crew. But anyway, so the cast, Damian Lewis seems to be the main guy, the main.
I would say he's the
star.
main character, so to speak.
Yeah. He's the
I
lieutenant.
think it follows him.
Yeah, he's the lieutenant of the battalion or whatever it is at the beginning. I can't remember the specific name of it.
Easy Company.
Easy Company. Yeah.
I don't think he runs the whole company. He's just he's
second
platoon leads, second officer. Yeah,
something like that.
The terminology is.
He's high up though. He's definitely he's certainly high up.
We see him get there in this episode. That's for sure.
Exactly. And we've got Colin Hanks. So that's obviously Tom Hanks' son. We've also got David Schwimmer, who plays a big role in the first episode. I'm not sure if he reappears, but
He doesn't. I don't.
Yes,
No?
he does. Yeah, he does.
he does.
Oh, he does. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
A couple
Spoilers,
times.
Carson. God.
Sorry,
And
he doesn't. We don't
no.
know.
Okay. Oh God. We also have what's the guy's name from Boardwalk Empire? Steven.
Oh, the guy
something.
who plays Al Pacino.
The guy who plays Al Pacino.
The
God,
guy who plays Al Pacino.
God.
The guy who plays Al Capone.
God damn me. Yeah, Al Capone, Al Pacino. Yeah. Stephen Graham. Stephen Graham. Yeah,
yes.
he is one of my favorite actors, just in general. He was in This Is England, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's like showing how a man kind of dives into like white supremacy, like how a mind can get to that kind of point of depravity, and how kind of governmental institutions kind of reinforce that pattern of systemic kind of, or the embedded racism within the class of people that is being represented. But he's a great actor. He was also great in Boardwalk Empire.
Who does he play in this? I don't want to pull the page up because it's too bright.
I don't know what I don't know who he plays, what his name is, but he's a private by the end of the episode.
We'll get to that whole section. Yeah.
But yeah,
one of the I think he's one of the squad leads eventually. But yeah.
And it's produced by Steven Spielberg, directed by a whole bunch of people, and the first episode is directed by Phil Alden Robinson, who I am not familiar with. But all of these folks seem to know what their stuff is, because this episode was pretty really fantastic at building up the series.
Yeah, it's a really good episode to the series.
Yeah, and I feel like we would almost be doing the series a disservice by not continuing. Like if we were to want to like continue on with this because it's like such an intro episode.
So good.
It's like really good.
So good.
But it's really like nothing happens in terms of like war combat.
It's a cliffhanger ending too, right? Like
it is.
Yeah,
it really is.
So the next episode is when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest. One would say the biggest coat hanger.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger. Shut up. Biggest cliffhanger.
One would say the biggest coat hanger, and that coat is Nazi occupied Europe.
Okay. So yeah, I think that covers most of the details here. This episode this intro episode is 70 minutes long, roughly. 73. So it's a bit over the regular kind of episode time limit, but nothing out of the ordinary for HBO.
Yeah, definitely not.
It won a bunch of Emmys too. Emmys and Golden Globes.
Oh fuck yeah!
It's incredible. It's very critically acclaimed.
Yeah, best miniseries at the Emmys and the Golden Globes, and it was really overall. And I think it's aged very well.
It has.
I agree. There were a few shots in this episode I thought like, wow, like these effects look great still.
I don't think half of the things in this episode were effects. I think
no,
that's 90% of it is real.
Yeah, it's mostly practical.
The planes.
The planes are real, 100%.
Yeah, that was incredible.
I mean, like there were a couple shots that are a little bit
bullets.
CG, but we can talk about them. But for example, the giant troop ship, like when they're all loading onto that giant barge, and the very end with all of the planes and all of the ships. I think those are really the only two shots where I was like, okay, that's CG. But other than that, those scenes look great. You know what I mean?
2001
Yeah.
CG. Like you have to consider that the fact that like you had Toy Story 1 style animation coming out of a really really high level animation studio, and then you have this coming out like 2 or 3 later, and it's fucking excellent. You could change this out with the CG that comes in Boardwalk Fire, in my opinion, if you were to both of them. But yeah, let's get right into it.
I guess should we also just say the like general summary of like the plot for
Oh yeah, sure. I can I have the description up here on Wikipedia.
I thought you wanted me to summarize it.
No, I could just Nazis, yeah, Nazis bad. It's interesting though, they haven't shown the Nazis once. Series like in the first episode, they didn't show any sort of iconography, any
British
sort of
guys in Nazi uniforms.
That's true. They show a couple guys dressed up in those uniforms for training exercises.
Yeah, with the bands.
No, they took them in battle.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I thought they were dressed that way for a training purpose.
No, that's why the guy had the Luger and he was like all excited for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy. Okay, so the series dramatizes the history of Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division, from jump training in the United States through its participation in major actions in Europe up until Japan's capitulation and the end of World War II. The events are based on Ambrose's research and recorded interviews with Easy Company veterans. The series took some literary license, adapting history for dramatic effect and series structure. The characters portrayed are based on members of Easy Company. Some of the men were recorded in contemporary interviews, which viewers see as preludes to several episodes, with the men's real identities revealed in the finale. And that's all the pertinent there. They have some other. That's pretty much that's the gist of it.
Some Hollywood shenanigans.
Yeah, Hollywood shenanigans. Talking about like the book and stuff like that. But yeah, it's based on a book.
Yeah.
But yeah, introduction. You've got some interviews that happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good way to start each episode. Right. It gives a really good like preface of what the episode's going to be about. And it also, I think it adds a lot of like what's the word I'm trying to find here? Like authenticity of what's going on. I don't know. I really enjoy that.
I feel like it gives it a feel of like a History Channel show.
Yeah,
like you are watching. Yeah, like very much like I watched on Netflix. There is a show they put out I think last or 2 years ago called Medal of Honor, which is just like interviews and basically information about several notable Medal of Honor recipients in the history of the American military. And each one is like interviews and people talk about that person, and then they'll show like a dramatic reenactment of that thing. That's basically like a small part, like a short film. And it gives that feel. It's like you're watching a History Channel documentary thing where you have the veterans start off and say, oh, we went through training and this and that, and then you jump right into it, and it's like watching these people live through those events. It's a great way to start it off.
Yeah, I liked it a lot as well. I just kind of was sitting there in awe a little bit, because you're hearing like talk about people taking an extra $50 to be going into the airborne division.
Yeah,
like,
to learn how to be paratroopers.
The guy who's
$100 a month. Like that's what they're being paid to be in the army.
Back then, that's a lot of money.
Back then, that's a sizable salary. But we're talking about people who are like Halo operatives now. Like
they're getting paid. Like the equivalent is obviously not there, right? Like I don't know what the equivalent would be today, but back then, $100 a month was a good amount of money.
I wonder what the price for inflation.
The guy that said that, like, I came from a small town, and three kids essentially, they're like 18, 17 years old, who were 4F, which is like they couldn't join, committed suicide because they couldn't go fight.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Like
that will never happen. I don't think that's gonna happen in America for a very long time.
No,
I think
for now until a very long time.
I think
couldn't
a
see
story
something
like
like
that highlights like the time period of
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
just what the sort of moral obligation people felt at the time, and in the face of
Mhm.
what I mean. I think I've said this before. I don't know if on the podcast, but just sort of like human conflict. The nature of human conflict is an intensely gray subject matter. There can be no pure good or pure evil in any form in
Mhm.
in war. But World War II is one of the closest examples you can get to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh,
Like
big time.
it,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Big time.
of course allies did horrible things, and there were lots of
Mhm.
examples of terrible casualties and civilians
Yeah.
and war crimes and all that stuff, because that's the horrible reality of war. But
Fucking Stalin.
exactly, but
Yeah.
no one can say that the Allied pursuit in the face of Nazis was not a noble one. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah. It for sure was.
We would, you know, growing up watching films like Saving Private Ryan, and like s- just like kind of growing up, like being instilled that sort of like sense of duty and honor, and like, you know, protecting the people with you because you're in a crazy circumstance, and all you have are your friends and your trust in them, that together, if you work together, you can make it home and make a difference. Like that kind of stuff is what I took with me watching these kinds of stories when I was a kid.
Hmm.
So and that's, I still feel that way today, even though of course I'm smarter and I'm a little bit more skeptical these days,
And
but
jaded and
jaded.
edgy.
But like watching this, like watching the opening interviews and stuff, and just putting myself in those shoes, I was like, oh yeah, of
Bro,
course,
Hmm.
these
you
guys were
know,
like 18, 19
Yeah.
yeah,
doing this.
Nuts.
yeah,
I could hardly tie my shoes when I was 18.
No.
I was a fucking moron
These
when
guys
I
are
was
training to
18.
jump out of planes and just
yeah,
fight Nazis.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
That's nuts.
like because
yeah.
that's what they thought was the right thing to
Which, I
um,
mean, it is.
yeah, it was, and
Objectively
it
speaking, yeah.
is still currently the right thing
Still
to do.
currently, yes.
Still
Yeah.
very much a real issue we have
Yeah.
to deal with in some cases.
Yeah,
Mm.
unfortunately, still very much relevant despite you
Yeah.
know 60 or 80 years, 75 years replaced
Yeah.
from, or removed from fucking World War II, and we're still dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
Just
It's
fun fact, $100 in 1944 is worth $1464.76 today.
okay.
So
That's about
14 grand a month.
$1,400 a month.
Oh, $1,400 a month.
$1,400 a month. Think about that. So that's
Yeah.
covering your own self, like at the base, like buying like at the commissary with like cigarettes and alcohol and whatever you're buying, and then you also have to send that money home to your wife because she's at home taking care of the kids, the nuclear family. So like
Yes.
that's not enough. That's
Very,
crazy.
very mid-century dynamics, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
these guys are
I don't
being
think it was
paid.
about the money for them, really, though.
No, it wasn't. That's the thing. Like
It's like what we just touched on, I think.
yeah,
Like,
you see the face
money's
of
nice,
evil.
but they're not really fighting for the money.
Yeah.
They're fighting because they have to,
I
or they
think
feel like they have to.
well, I think that after I guess this was like 1943, Pearl Harbor happened when? 1942?
That was
think it was
43. Hang on, I want to get this right.
Yeah,
Just
that's
Googled it.
probably a good fact we should get
41.
right. 41.
41. Yeah,
Jeez,
way
okay,
earlier.
Yeah.
So they
yeah.
had like they saw an attack on their own sovereign land, and like we can't have this. Like this is far reaching. This is not just in Europe. This is gonna go very, very far if this isn't nipped in the bud. And they didn't nip it in the bud, but they definitely nipped it. They shot an RPG at a full grown flower, and it worked. It fucking worked. Yeah, I think that it's really interesting that the nobility of these like I think that World War II is one of the last wars that wasn't an imperial one, and have some sort of like economic backing behind it. Like
I think all those things are true of Nazi Germany.
I think but I think that in World War II it was a lot. It wasn't like the Americans were thinking, oh, we have to go and save all of these Jewish people and all of these Europeans. Like we need to go. It was more like these people are threatening our freedom, because if their reign reaches far as us, our way of life will be compromised. And there's a national like identity that's attached to that innate freedom that comes with the citizenship of being an American. But I feel like it wasn't necessarily a altruistic or compassionate decision to go into the war for the American side, but I think that it was like to maintain their way of life.
It was pragmatic.
Yeah, it was it was pragmatic. Right? Like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
they were straight up attacked, so they probably didn't have a choice, really, if you think about it.
Yeah,
right. Like these guys just bombed the heck out of our base. We're just gonna sit back and be like, okay, and walk away. No.
I
think that's what the
Especially
Japanese hoped would happen, but that's not.
Yeah,
not the reality of the situation.
And people forget that America was like a really powerful force in World War One too. Like
they were also very
late to join the game.
Yeah, they were late
anti-war. They didn't want to do it.
No, they were late to join, and I respect the fact that they were late to join. Kind of.
Or isolationist.
I don't know a lot about World War One, so I hesitate to comment on that. So take anything that I say about World War with a grain of salt. But I don't know. I think that I lost my train of thought. Motherfucker.
All right.
But yeah, I think that that they had to do something. They had to react in some way, or else their identity as kind of the global superpower would have been compromised. But
they weren't one, like, really.
I agree that they
not
they
at that
really
point,
weren't
but they were on their way
at
up.
that point. Yeah,
England.
I feel like
France were global superpowers.
I feel like the American superpower as it is now really didn't start to exist until right after World War II.
Yeah.
In the wake of the war, and in that power vacuum left on the world stage, it was very much America, because they were in such a distinct and powerful position. What with all the production, and they're being sort of like this massive saving force for the grace of Europe. They were in such a powerful position that it was them and all this industrial capability they just built up, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we will carve it up and take our place, and therefore the American empire increases dramatically in scope and scale.
And now we have today.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's a good thing. Just saying
absolutely not.
It's been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have. You know what? I'm glad that we don't have a Wolfenstein alt reality kind of situation right now. I am too.
Also very pleased about that. Yeah.
Although mecha dogs sound pretty cool. I like the idea of a robot dog, and I think that we should maybe explore that idea outside of the Nazi ideology.
Outside of giant Wunderhounds with flamethrower mouths. I think I'd rather just have robot dogs come more naturally.
Unarmed. Unarmed robot dogs. We're talking totally peaceful.
We're already
robot
kind of getting
dogs.
close to robot dogs with like Boston Dynamics and stuff, right? Have you seen those videos where they kick them and they fucking respond, and they can keep their bounds?
Kind of scary. There's a video of a tangent here, but there's a video in I think it's in China of a robot dog walking up to people and telling them to social distance. I'm not making
I have seen so many different videos of like different types of drones and different types of robots in China that are telling people to stay in their homes. It's crazy. They have a lot of drones. They have like stuff you've never seen before.
Oh yeah, they have the most insane technology that there is. Remember when they had a bunch of, there was like a crowd of people in Hong Kong, I think, and they shot it was like a vibration gun at these people.
Oh, and then they all just like threw up.
And they all started pooping themselves and throwing up. Like, oh, okay, so now we have vibration guns.
Cool.
Great. Gonna snipe people.
We're going on a
Let's use the poop cannon on these pro-democracy protesters. Love that. Okay, cool.
Like they saw Kick-Ass 2 and they were like, wow, the hit girl scene in high school is the best part of this movie. We should need to recreate this.
Why are we talking about Kick-Ass 2? That movie sucks.
I hated that fucking movie.
It sucks so much.
The worst. Horrible. I remember loving that movie, the first one, and being so stoked.
The first one was really good.
The first one was great, but the second one, god damn, horrible.
Wow.
It's because there's no
no Nick Cage.
There's no Nick Cage.
Yeah, there's no Nick Cage. The heart of the movie is gone.
Exactly.
Anyway, we should probably get back on to Band of Brothers.
I think we should get back on to Band of Brothers.
We should.
Why is Nick Cage not in Band of Brothers, man?
Tell me about it.
Wow.
Tell me about it.
He
Maybe
w-
he is later. We don't know.
So we have
Maybe.
the lieutenant or the like easy company boss guy, the commander, I guess. In chief.
Sobel, right?
Yeah.
We're jumping ahead a little bit. So we got
are we?
our interviews.
Yeah, Tony.
Okay, sorry, we got the interviews. We'll
gosh,
go through the
yeah.
interviews.
So we got the interviews. We're hearing the stories from these veterans, and they kind of set the stage for us, talking about why they joined, their reason for joining, what they thought was the right thing to do at the time.
Mhm.
Then we get our little title sequence, and then we get to a montage of prep at the base, like on the eve of the invasion, on the eve of D-Day.
Yeah.
We have all these soldiers sort of like prepping their gear and kind of like getting around, and someone on Jeep says like, okay, the fog's bad, we're not jumping today, invasion's postponed tomorrow. And then they're watching a movie, and then we have Winters and Nix just kind of chatting, and they're sort of just like, oh man, yeah, how about this, huh? And then they reference
Chicago.
they reference Chicago, they reference New York, and then they Nick says
he's from there.
he was from Chicago, yeah. And leading into a flashback where we meet the person they were talking about, which is Lieutenant at this point, soon to be Captain Sobel, who is the commanding officer of Easy Company and a real genuine piece of shit.
Yeah.
I genuinely laughed out loud on my own when Ross came out, and I was not expecting it at all. I wasn't expecting it at all. I didn't look up anything about the
David
show.
Schwimmer, man.
Played by David Schwimmer from
Great
Friends.
job.
He's such a piece of shit.
Great job. He's such a. And I also want to say, take that with a grain of salt, because supposedly he wasn't like that bad.
But he was still
this is
bad.
the perspective of the soldiers that he was working with, right? So they all probably thought he was a piece of shit.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
so they probably embellished a little bit.
Yeah, I would imagine it's embellished for dramatic
and it worked.
Yeah, for dramatic effect, they make him out to be quite the villain in this.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah, sure does.
I mean, we can't expect these people, like the producers of the show, to like stick straight to history. Like they have to kind of, this is based on a true kind of thing,
it's
as
also
opposed to
like
this
a
is true
series
story.
for television, right? Like they have to
editorialize,
make it to work for TV, right? Like,
of course,
absolutely. But I saw Ross, and that's how he's referred to in my notes, so I'm not going to remember.
the same thing.
You guys can say his name a million times. I'm never going to remember it because I heard it a million times in the show already, and I could not remember it. But I was cackling, laughing on my own. It was such a surprise, and I just was like, I can't take this fucking guy seriously. I can't take this guy seriously at all because he's such a good physical actor. And he's just personified the character of this like asshole misogynist dweeb that's like just the worst person that you don't want to hang out with at all. You don't want to be around. Like he's just the worst. Ross is the villain of Friends as far as I'm concerned. It's Rachel's story. He's the villain, and the villain wins in the end of Friends. Spoiler alert, anyway. Wow. Infuriating. It's like, oh, God. But anyway.
Now we're going to transition into our breakdown of why Friends is hot trash. Buckle up. Buckle the fuck up.
The ending of Friends is trash, but I'm rewatching it right now. I actually do love it.
I would argue that every ending of every sitcom is trash because it's hard to end a sitcom.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
But we have the flashback, and I have a really hard time taking this guy seriously. But it's like he's going through and he's going up to all of the recruits. Like they're all standing in line.
Yeah,
they're all standing
2 years previous at the beginning of basic training for the year.
A long time to train.
Yeah. And they're
that's for perspective. Yeah, these guys trained for 2 years to be paratroopers.
Yeah,
they
crazy.
Die in like 20 seconds
for this invasion. Yeah, it's an insane amount of time and effort. Oh my
That'd
god,
be a lot of government resources wasted on
it
like
was.
one. Yeah, like
But
one
like,
dude.
I think that's why they
Not wasted.
wouldn't say wasted.
Yeah, wasted is a
why
bad
they
term.
train them.
Wasted
That's why
is
they
bad.
train them so well, though, because these guys are going to be put in like crazy situations, right? Like jump out of a plane, surrounded by enemies.
The airborne were very much the special forces of World War II.
So that's why they train them so well, right? And so in depth. They weren't some random guys that like conscripts that were gonna sit and hold a forward action or something like that. No, these guys were the guys that were going behind the enemies and causing as much trouble as they could.
Yeah.
So they had to be properly trained.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of them just straight up don't even make it at the plane. The plane just gets shot down and they all, like, a lot of them die.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But the ones that do make it on the ground are really effective.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we see that in the show.
Yeah, there's a great game, Company of Heroes, that goes through this. The first mission, I never beat it, but I played the first couple of missions.
Love Company Heroes. That's a great game.
Yeah, fantastic. It's an RTS, like squad-based RTS, and you control a squadron of airborne troopers, like what we're talking about here, and they all kind of come in on the day, and it's a really it's intense, and it's all kind of accurate as far as I know, the ways Italian went through. And I don't know, the bravery of these people is unimaginable. All my hat is off
for real.
them. Yeah. I tip my hat to them a million times over. It's insane. Yeah. So we have kind of a Full Metal Jacket, like a callback to like Full Metal Jacket here. And this is one of the first of many that I noticed in this episode. And he's going through and he's like kind of checking the people's uniform, soldiers' uniforms, to see if they're in proper check. Like one guy has a dusty whatever there's like an eagle emblem on there.
Is it
his joke later on?
Company emblems and stuff.
Yeah, and it's dusty, and he like grabs it, and he's like, "This isn't acceptable. You have to, like, your weekend pass is revoked." So he's like he's like a strict elementary school teacher, giving out demerit points, kind of thing. That's kind of the vibe you get. But he's not as aggressive as the lieutenant in Full Metal Jacket. And I think that is kind of interesting, just as kind of a character study. Like, the guy is a weenie, and they're establishing this right off the bat. Like, they're making a very, very obvious callback to a very famous war scene from a war movie. And he can't really deliver on what he's trying to achieve. He can't rile the spirits of the troops, and he doesn't really have the respect.
I don't know if I agree with that, because he does a damn good job at making them soldiers.
I think,
like, a really good job at making them like a unit and effective fighting force.
But is that because of him, or is that to spite him?
I think it's in spite of him as well.
Yeah,
I think,
but that's still because of him, though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like,
that's
Nick,
a fair point.
Nick says it really good in a later scene that he had a headmaster like him, and that anyone would like double time. I can't remember what the mountain's called.
Curry,
like Curry.
Yeah.
Anyways, they double time it in a full pack just to piss in his morning coffee. That's what he says later on.
Yeah.
And I think that really gets the point across, that anyone's willing to like go the extra mile just to screw this guy over and
stick it to the man.
That's kind of the point, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna
like, yeah, he's a dick, but
I think it's more,
he makes good soldiers.
I think it's more the idea that it's not by his own.
No, I think it's more of an accident.
Yeah.
Well, like, I think it's like his intentions weren't, or I guess his intentions were to make them good soldiers, but he like went a different route to do that, but still got to the same result. I don't know.
It feels like his intentions were to make them like an incredibly good unit, to make himself look good instead of to make them prepared.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's the problem. It's like, this guy didn't want to train these guys to be the best of the best, so that they could effectively complete the mission. He wanted them to be the best of the best, so that he looks like the biggest fucking bestest dude around. And
I think that point is supported later on in the episode, near the end, with Winters, the lieutenant. This is just, I'm not spoiling any plot things, but he says, never put yourself in a position where you can take from any of these men.
Yeah.
And that was a very powerful line, I think, because he doesn't want to be in a position where he is in any sort, he's an authority figure, but he's not taking things from people. He's not stripping things or rights from people like this guy is.
He's a good leader.
Yeah,
that's the difference between leading and commanding.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. I like this guy a lot. Whoever's playing him, Damian Lewis.
He's amazing in the show.
He is
He's
fantastic.
just in general, he's a great actor.
I've never seen him in anything before. I don't think. I'm
Isn't
looking
he,
through his
Homeland.
films.
He's in Homeland.
Billions, that new show Billions. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a British actor. He's a very well-known actor. But watching him in the show, like just watching the show, I'm like, I would fucking follow this guy anywhere. You know what I mean? I would fucking do anything.
And the skepticism from some other soldiers is also really funny about Winters as well.
Yeah,
I like his character a lot. Yeah.
I know it's 1940, but like, who names their kid Richard and then gives him the nickname Dick?
I think that's everybody else gives you the nickname Dick, but
yeah, but like, come on, like,
I know you're not giving him a chance.
Like, but nobody says it in like a bad way. They say it like it's his name.
Yeah, because it's like
but
Gaylord.
Like, if that's now, can you imagine now?
Well,
the guy would get ragged on so bad now.
And this is a weird
nickname, Dick.
This is a weird divergence, but did you ever see the movie Meet the Fockers or Meet the Parents?
Yep.
That guy's name, Ben Stiller's character, the weenie, his last name is Gaylord. And that's like a completely normal name. Like a lot of people have that name in Europe, or it's like a specific part of Europe that has that a lot of that name, I think. And I always thought that was really funny, and it was supposed to be like a gay panic joke in the show. It was like, I looked it up and it was like, oh, that's a name that a lot of people have. It's not like something that was made up to sound gay panicky. So I feel like people also have that kind of that respect, that mutual respect. Like maybe they don't want their names to be made fun of as well. Maybe it's just like a cultural or a generational difference. I agree, though. I agree. Who names their
like? What are you thinking?
In modern day,
I digress. Good leader.
Good leader. Very good leader.
Yeah, we really see him grow into the leader that this company should have over the course of the episode.
Absolutely.
In sort of in the face of this piece of shit. This real hard ass coward, we find out.
For real.
Which really is the worst part.
Yeah, that was really disappointing. So I was kind of stoked to see him like go full Ross, like rage mode on the battlefield, or like doing his war face. But I think that this is a really good intro, kind of to the base as well. Like it gives a lot of good feeling of this military base and how big the operation actually is, and like how complicated it is bureaucratically.
Yeah, because like, you see the mountain in the background a whole lot. They run that every day.
They run that every day.
To the top. Like I don't know if it's to the top. I don't think it's to the top.
It is to the top. We go through a bit of a montage right now of just them constantly being sent for a run to this mountain.
Yeah.
By the commanding officer, Sobel or Ross. We see kind of a montage here of just like these very minor infractions that like anyone with a reasonable sense of morality would kind of let slide for their unit, but this guy's just like, nope, your shit's untied, your stuff's a little bit messy here. Go run up the mountain. 15 minutes back. I want to see you. I'll be watching you. Like so often, that's the thing. He's constantly disciplining these men. He's never reinforcing them. He's never giving them any kind of positive feedback in any way, shape, or form. He's constantly disciplining them and constantly beating the shit out of them emotionally and
demoralizing them.
And we see a lot of examples, especially in the first half of the episode, of all of the soldiers becoming incredibly close with each other because they have to be in order to keep themselves in this unit.
And I know, like, this isn't like I'm not like saying what he's doing is smart. It's not. But like that's like a thing that a lot of like I've read a couple times where they say like the punishments should come from the higher ups, but the positivity should come from the officers of the group. So like the guy in charge shouldn't be like giving them all like, you know, breaks and shit like that, and like not like congratulating them is different, but it shouldn't be giving them a lot of good news. It shouldn't be coming from the higher ups. It should be coming from the officers in
middle management,
the platoon commanders,
because it allows them to grow better together and to become more of a cohesive unit. And you're still known as that guy that's gonna give the orders, and it's like you don't want to piss this guy off because he'll punish you and shit like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
But Ross is not doing it correctly.
No,
Ross
he
is not doing it
He
correctly.
really is not.
No, he really is sort of a harbinger of destruction throughout this whole.
Pretty much. So they are training. They're going through their training montage. At one point, they're going like crawling under a bunch of barbed wire with like pig guts everywhere and like really gruesome, bad, like not pleasant training. Like really intense. Like every day. Holy shit. You are going to be a monster tank by the end of this ordeal.
It's pretty grueling. Yeah, watching go through all this. Yeah,
big time. I don't think anything. A lot of things happen really narrative-wise within that montage.
It's mostly just a collection of scenes of just these soldiers kind of like banding together, him beating the shit out of them, them banding together kind of a little bit, kind of chit-chatting along the way, but we don't really get any character development until I think the next thing that happens is Lieutenant Sobel is promoted to captain. We meet the major, and he shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm giving you promotion. This Easy Company is one of the damn finest companies in the whole battalion. Like, you're doing a fantastic job, and I also want to promote Sergeant Winters to lieutenant. So I want you to give it to him because it would mean a lot coming from you."
I laugh at that.
Yeah,
because we all know it would mean nothing.
Exactly
coming from Ross.
But that kind of goes.
Sobel,
but that kind of goes to what you're saying, Carson. About like the good stuff coming from middle management. Like it doesn't come from
promotions are kind of different though, right? Like promotions should not be coming from middle management.
Well, especially this guy too.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
And then he gets this promotion to captain, and he says, "Go promote Winters. I want you to promote him." And then he immediately demeans and reprimands Winters for not having a good enough grasp on his unit. And then is like, "Oh, by the way, I'm making you lieutenant. You're going to be in charge of the mess hall. Go make us some spaghetti." Like,
I like spaghetti.
I like spaghetti.
That's the line of the episode right there.
We should have a special meal to congratulate the men before their time off.
I like spaghetti.
Just completely orchestrating the entire thing. Yeah.
And it does like a hard cut to the mess hall, as far as I remember, and it's just like
it does,
slop. Just gruel.
Like, just gruel of a
they're
sauce.
eating it up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you they've had probably hot garbage for months and months. And
they're mixing it up.
Reminds them of home. Yeah. Even though one guy says, "This isn't spaghetti. This is noodles and ketchup. I'm Italian. I'm offended by this."
This is like army noodles and ketchup. Like that must be so disgusting. That must be.
Then Ross just busts the door open and it's like,
this actually made me very upset.
Yeah.
This actually made me very upset. He gives them all spaghetti and then busts in while they're eating it and says, "Okay, we're running up the mountain. Your leave's been canceled." And then everyone's running and they're just puking up spaghetti because they just ate. And I was like, "This guy's a cruel son of a bitch."
And it was like raining the day, like earlier on too. So they're running through like the mud and all this stuff while vomiting on spaghetti on their white shirts, I might add.
Yeah.
So
you're never getting those
stains
out.
They're gonna get punished for the stains in their shirt now, I imagine, as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We never find out, but
we never find out.
A real masochist.
Well, yeah, that's calculated. That's very calculated. And
it's big brain.
I wonder if he's trying to get the people to kind of turn against the lieutenant. I don't know. Like
no,
I
don't see how that would be the lieutenantant's fault. I don't see how they could rationalize that.
It feels like he's trying to command this air of like undefeatable respect towards him. Like he wants them to fear him. He wants them to respect him. He wants his word to be gospel.
Yeah.
But instead, what he gets is everybody hates him and treats him like shit behind his back because they don't trust him.
Yeah.
No.
And a real life analog to that would be like an Orson Welles. Like Orson Welles back in the day, he would get somebody on set. I don't know how substantiated this is, but this is like a pretty well established rumor that I've heard from several different sources, that he would get somebody on the first day, and he would hire somebody who is like obviously not like competent enough to do the job, or they would get somebody overly competent and he would fire them on the first day to like kind of prove this sense of like, I can fire you at any given time, even on the first day, callously and coldly without any sort of remorse.
Wow.
And it's like that sort of deal.
That's
I think.
messed up.
Because at a certain point during that conversation about the spaghetti, doesn't he insist that that the lieutenant find some some contraband or find some sort of issue to like reprimand 6 different officers with
when he's going through and kind of like tearing apart the barrack to reprimand Winters at the state of his unit. He at one point he's like, someone stole these peaches from my mess hall. This is army property.
What is this? And
What is this?
Like,
what is this, Nick?
those are peaches. And he's like, no, these are not peaches.
These are property of the
Here we
U.S.
go.
military.
But like these guys, they're putting their life on the line for the military. They're doing all this stuff. They've sacrificed their life, their social life, their family, everything, and they can't have a can of peaches in their room.
He opens up the mail and then smells it.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
That
The
was
guy's
so
a fucking
weird.
control
I'm
freak.
like,
He's
bro, what
control
is going on here? Why are you smelling this man's mail?
Yeah, and he's like, why do you have so much time to correspond so much? And then he takes this was the thing that pissed me off the most, I think, out of all of the things that he did. He had a stack of letters, and he put the letter back in its thing, and then he put it into the pile, and they were like, that's my personal property, like you can't take that. And he was like, you're not a paratrooper yet.
These men aren't
you're not an
paratroopers.
airborne, or you're not in the airborne division yet. You have no personal property. And he throws the letters like asunder, like just throws them like across the room. It's like, you're just a dick. There's no reason for you to be like this. You're just a masochist, like a social masochist. You suck. That was the point. I was like, I have no sympathy for this dude. Screw this
and then
guy.
he storms off with his aide and assistant Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
and they storm off on a huff. But he talks to Winters and he says, I want you to reprimand 5 of your men, and give them fitting punishments. And he says, well, there are no infractions, sir. My men are perfect. He's like, find some. He's like, I want you to choose 5 men and who have done nothing, and give them a punishment, because I want to instill fear of me in the unit.
Yeah.
Fear of Ross.
And he just said when he was explaining it to Nix, he was just like, yeah, it was their turn. So
yeah, it was their turn to do latrine duty, so I just put all the guys who were going to do it on latrine duty anyway.
I like that.
Fuck you anyway.
Yeah, easy. Outsmarted and outplayed.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of Winter's MO this whole time, is just sort of like silently
maneuvering around this guy.
Yeah. Like when they're running with the spaghetti and everyone's puking up the spaghetti, and he's like, I want to get the character's name right, because I want to start to try to refer to these people as the actual characters they are. But played by the guy from Walking Dead, who played the ex-military guy, Michael Cudlett's his character, Randleman. He's talking to Randleman. He's just like, they're running, and Ross is there, and he's like, you got to quit. You look tired. Like you look like you're finally gonna pack it in, huh? You fat fuck. Like you finally look like you're gonna pack it in to go home. And then Winters starts getting the men to sing, and he starts getting them to just kind of.
It's a joke song too. It's not like
yeah.
Like it's a
and then
stick
they're
it to
running
him
past
song.
him. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that.
These and then it cuts to them doing their jumps, right?
Yes. The next scene is the first jump train, the first jump training.
Yeah, and the way that they jump out of the plane is really cool. I think something that I had no idea is that backpack parachutes didn't exist until after World War. So something interesting was like they had the parachute outside of the plane, and the guys were connected to the parachute inside of the bag that was dangling off of the side of the plane, and they would just jump out and the parachute would come out with them, as opposed to them having to pull a cord. And that's the kind of historical accuracy that I love. Like, that's really cool. And I wonder if that was a real jump. I wonder if those were real jumps that they did.
Most likely.
I think they were. I'm pretty sure that they did a lot of actual parachuting to film the show.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool. Because I wonder what like the success rate and fail rate of those parachutes are compared to modern day kind of base jumping, like backpack type parachutes. Like probably not very good. It's probably
better than the Russians.
Yeah.
Have
I
you
can
heard that
imagine.
story? I read a story at the beginning of World War II. It was in the late 30s, and the Soviet Union did some experimenting with not jumping out of a plane without parachutes, but landing in really deep snow. They got conscripts and they pushed them out of planes, and they thought, okay, who died, who didn't, who was safe, and how much snow did they land in to make them safe? And that was one of the
Jesus
testings that
Christ.
they did in order to save money on parachutes.
Russia's different, man.
Liet.
The Soviet Union, yet no.
Russia's just different.
Holy God, man.
They have always done things their own way.
I guess the origin story of Bane comes from some sort of Russian military general. That's insane. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah.
Whew.
No,
Well-
there's one scene in that or one shot I should say in that scene that always gives me motion sickness if I watch it.
Mm.
And it's the one where the guy jumps out and it's like they actually it must have been real because
It
they
must
must have
have
got the guy to jump out the plane with the camera. And he's like looking at his feet the whole time while going down, and I have to skip that scene every time.
You just have to fast forward it or like okay.
Yeah, it just makes me nauseous.
Yeah. And in that scene, in that first jump, we get also a shot of Ross, and he's looking a little worse for wear.
Sweating. Yeah, he's
sweating.
sweating.
He doesn't like to jump out of
He's a
planes,
sweaty
which is
boy.
an interesting quality to have when you lead a company of parachutists.
Definitely an interesting quality to have.
My boy maybe isn't the biggest fan of heights.
He might not be the best suited candidate for this position. And we will see exactly how that manifests within the crew.
We sure will.
Plays out very well.
Mhm.
So they are jumping out of the planes, or out of the plane like pretty consistently. As far as I know, it's like a montage.
It's really
of
fast
them.
forwarded, right? Like
Yeah.
they're just like, they're doing jump training, and then
Yeah. I
they
think
jump over to their party, right?
there's a
Right after.
It cuts back to like one of the CEOs, and he's saying like, this is one of 5 jumps that you will do during this practice, and at the end of the 5th one,
You'll get your wings.
You will get your wings. You will be a member
Yeah.
of the airborne.
Wow. Okay. So they have 5 jumps that they have to do, like 5 practice jumps.
Mm-hmm. Each one increasingly intense in terms of like the equipment that they have on, and the sort of simulation of the real deal. With the 5th one being essentially like a full scale jump of like full kit and everything.
Yeah, and it's a lot of weight that they have on their body.
It's like 100, more than 100 pounds of equipment
at least. And like there's a scene at the end. Again, not spoiling the plot, but it said, one person said, it's only another 80 pounds of equipment strapped to your leg.
There's a funny story
One
about
leg.
the leg bags where they open up the door and then they just fall off their legs and just fall to the ground.
They'll pick it up later.
No, they do. Good luck. Like you're jumping in D-Day and it's pitch black. Like you're not gonna find this bag. Like it's gone.
It's a care package for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Might fall on a German head.
Will have a great day.
Fall on a German head.
You're gonna kill a Nazi from the sky.
Best case scenario, it lands right on the AA crew that was shooting at you.
Yeah. An alternate history is Hitler is driving through the town.
And a leg bag falls on his head.
Leg bag crushes him. Yeah.
It's like a Gavrilo Princip. Fucking.
That's like straight out of Hitman.
Of
World War I. It look like an accident.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Make it look like an accident. You just see Agent 47 dressed in like an old steampunk outfit, still bald as shit. Anyway. My God.
Time traveling Agent 47. That's the next Hitman game for sure.
I'm into that. I would play the hell out of that for sure.
That'd be so much fun.
Let's send this off to
$1 million idea.
Square Enix. What's that?
$1 million idea.
$1 million idea, exactly. There's a bar scene that happens. It seems to be a Legion Hall scene.
Yes.
Yeah. There will be no leaning in my company.
Yeah, they're all doing their impressions of the commanding officers.
How are you
which is-
supposed to slay the Huns with dust on your jump wings? This is funny.
These guys have some really good banter.
It is very funny. Yeah,
These guys are really, they have a good charisma to them. They like
the
they're-
acting across the board is great. They just feel like real people. you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
They really do. It doesn't feel like it's campy or kind of like overplayed at all, really, which is relieving, because a lot of the time you see in these war kind of epics, it's like way overplayed or like either way overplayed or way underplayed. Kind of like, I think 1917 was pretty underplayed, to like point to have like a point of like, oh, this is just suffering and silence, this is the flow of everything. But I feel like it could have it should have had way more dialogue, or like characterization.
Yeah, I could see that.
I kind of think that that's again the point, but I don't necessarily like the point, and I wish the point was different.
I agree. I actually haven't seen 1917, but
Neither
on
have
that
I.
point of
Really?
I haven't
I've
seen
never
it yet.
seen
Yeah,
it.
I haven't
would be
meaning to.
something to
I
cover.
never got a chance.
Yeah, I want to see it.
I should look it up for sure.
Fucking
But,
great movie. Really, really,
Yeah,
wow, really
I've
good.
heard nothing but good things about it.
Me
So
too.
yeah.
I do actually really like the history of World War One. I'm reading The
It's
Guns of August right now, so I definitely
crazy
want to.
stuff that they did there, man.
Yeah, give me all the good
Yeah.
World War One recommendations.
Yeah, a hardcore history episode on World. Prophets of Doom, Prophets of Armageddon, something like
Yeah.
that. It's like the first
Podcast shout out for today.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
We've only had one other podcast shout out today, so we're lowering our mean.
Yeah, I think we missed one last. I think the last 2 episodes we actually didn't reference any. So
Oh, how dare you?
we ruined the
Amazing.
streak. We got to start it again.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we're restarting. Only 50 bells a day.
50 bells. but yeah, that's a tried and tested and very well documented thing. Is like, in the face of combat, like laughter is always the best way to deal with any kind of stress. Comedy and jokes and people shooting the shit and playing pranks on each other. That's always is and always has been and always will be a very real and very healthy way to cope with extreme stress that comes with being in a war zone.
Well, if you look up on Wikipedia, or if you look up like in general like psychology, why people laugh, it's usually a reaction to discomfort. Like you're uncomfortable with a concept, you're uncomfortable with a position that you've been put in, or with just a general concept that you've been presented. So like the chicken crossed the road. Why is the chicken crossing the road, right? Like that's the whole concept that makes it funny, because why would a chicken be crossing a road? And
I too would be uncomfortable if I saw a chicken crossing the road.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, huh?
yeah, it's just kind of like what it's just a little weird. Like you wouldn't see a chicken crossing a road on the street. So like that's kind of the funny image of the joke. But anyway, I think that like it's a reaction to like genuine horror and discomfort, and that it has its place, and it's not again, it's not like overdone, and it's not just people like asking about each other's wives or each other's dogs or kids, trying to like elicit some sort of sympathetic reaction out of the audience. It seems that it's just
they're just normal people.
Yeah, you just have to assume that these people are normal people, and they have lives, like they have families, they have a wife, they have kids, they have whatever, like they're all human beings. So I imagine once it gets to the actual war stuff, I'm gonna be crying. We'll be crying big time.
Yeah,
it's
probably.
We do get to know everybody enough. We don't get to know everybody too much. There are a lot of characters, and we do tend to jump around, but I think over the course of the show you get to know everybody.
Yeah, well, there's a couple episodes in the show where it's primarily focused on like one or two soldiers. Like that's the main focus. So it's not just all Winters' perspective, essentially.
Oh, that's
cool.
Like, I like that.
They do broaden that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm
gonna have to watch the rest of this now. Like I'm 100% gonna have to
highly
watch the rest of it. Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah.
So just back to the narrative.
Yeah, they all be drinking
in the Legion.
Yeah, they be drinking at the bar,
making fun of
making
fun of the man, making fun of good old Ross Geller. And not doing much. You have the corporal, like the main guy, the top guy.
The major
Yeah.
of their division.
Is he a major, or I thought he was a corporal as well.
Wait, who? Sorry,
Colonel. Who? Singh. Colonel Singh.
The old guy, the old angry guy.
He's a major.
The major. Okay.
Oh,
I'm not totally sure.
fuck.
I might be wrong.
I know. I think I'm wrong. I think it would make more sense for him to be a colonel. I try, but it's very hard. I try to keep
Rank
and like division size in my head, but it's very
tough.
There's a lot to it.
There's a lot to know.
It's such a
Colonel
bureaucracy.
Singh.
He is colonel.
He's a colonel.
Okay, he's
yeah,
a colonel.
okay.
Yeah, so
Which
he's
makes more sense.
giving Ross some sort of honor, or he's doing.
No, he
what's he
he
doing?
shows
No,
up and just
he just shows up
congratulates the
with guys.
soldiers.
Oh, he just congratulates the soldiers. I thought he was.
Says,
Awesome.
"I'm damn proud of each and every one of you."
There you go. Very nice.
And God damn it, we're gonna make this a victory and all.
Yeah,
We're gonna get rid of those krauts.
Yeah,
yeah. He's all southern and stuff.
He's all southern.
Nice. Yeah.
Got that drawl, that good old drawl.
Yeah. And then we jump to our first simulated battle. We jump to our first
in
training
England.
battle.
June
We're in England now.
23rd,
No, this is still
1943.
this is still in before they leave. This is
This
Is
was
it in the
before?
forest?
this is the first. This is in the forest where they get ambushed. This is
Right? Yeah, they haven't left.
Yeah,
they
yet.
do
No,
it
you're
in
right.
train.
My bad.
Yeah. I'm jumping in.
So they do their first simulated battle. We see Ross and Winters and the platoon and the company in a very nice dug in defensive position in the forest, and he's getting a little freaked out. Ross
He's
is getting a little.
antsy. He's antsy. He's
antsy.
aggressive.
Let me see that map.
And then Winters is all like, "No, we should chill. We're in a really good spot. Who cares if we're off? We let the enemy come to me. I don't want to go to them. Give up the initiative. Give up the defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
That's dumb.
Yep.
I'm dug in. So what if I'm out of position? That might actually come into our advantage, right? Like,
Yeah. And
then Ross is out here like, now let's go get that bread, and then
Yeah, he's just like so stubborn and obstinate.
Yep.
Like he just will not buckle to Winters
I love
giving
his
him
walk.
good advice, obviously.
He's walking in like Vince McMahon.
This guy.
And-
Also, I noticed this every scene with him leading his men. He has no tactical awareness. He's just like
No.
he has everybody clumped up in a big group, and he's like, "Follow me!" Like he's like
Yeah.
leading a cavalry charge. And it's like,
Every
dude,
time you
or
see
a tour
Winters, he's all
guide.
like
He's a
going
tour
like this
guide.
and like
Yeah.
that, spread
he-
out and
he's
cover.
breaking his
You
squad into fire
really
teams.
see the difference in tactically
Great
in
job.
these two people.
Yeah.
You do they do such a great job of really illustrating that Winters is just like naturally has a knack for tactics and for command and
Yeah.
and this guy
Sobel
is just
does
like,
not know.
Sobel just wants to fucking I don't know. He wants to be like a king, like leading
Hero,
a
yeah.
grand army in a siege. Like he isn't prepped
You
for
really like when they get caught, like you really see like the anger and the disappointment in everybody's face behind him.
oh yeah
Mhm.
because he
They're all
marches
like,
out
this
in a
guy
big
just
group.
gonna get me killed.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna get me killed.
He's a coward, and he's so valor hungry that
So
they lead them
aggressive.
right into an ambush. Yeah,
Yeah, he's very aggressive.
Strong-headed, like thick-skulled. Like
Yeah.
just doesn't listen.
Another thing that drove me crazy was when the overseer of this training exercise comes up. And he's like, "Well, you just got yourself and 95% of your platoon killed. So
2 or
that
3
sucks.
survived.
Yeah.
They had critical injuries.
Yeah, leave 3 of your men here to play as wounded, and then send everybody back to the staging area." And Sobel's pissed, and he's like, "Okay, fine." And he has his pistol in his hand, finger on the trigger, and he points his pistol at 3 of his guys. He's like, you stay. Just flags them with his gun before he storms off. I'm like, this guy's gonna fucking shoot somebody by accident. This
Some
guy's
tells me they're not
actually
loaded
waves.
weapons.
I know, but
Waves his
still,
gun.
that's
like-
a horrible. That's not
Yes,
proper
a crowd.
discipline.
Yes,
He should
trigger
know better.
discipline is not there.
He
No.
should know better than to flag his teammates with the muzzle of his gun.
No, he's a
Absolutely.
complete buffoon, and it's really funny how stupid they make this guy and how much of a tool he is. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I make fun of of David Schwimmer, I just want to make clear, in case, David, you're ever watching this,
Right.
I know you're a big fan of mine, but I love his acting. I think he's
so good.
a fantastic actor.
Oh, he plays him so well.
Yeah, he really does. He
Like,
really, really does.
It's hard to make yourself so hated.
So unlikable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's so difficult to do.
That's the thing. And
doing it like it's nothing.
yeah, like fucking, okay, so I'm going to go off into a small Sopranos tangent. Tony Soprano's mother. Naturally. Tony Soprano's mother is like one of the most vile and horrible people that has ever graced the face of television. And she was played by this theater actress, I think. She was like really kind of getting up there. She actually died in the production of the second season, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah. And I had always attributed my dislike of her to bad acting because I couldn't empathize with her. But then I was like, no, she's actually made like the most hateable person possible. Like, I can't find any way to empathize with this human being other than like in a few select like mental gymnastics. And it's really it's a huge credit to an actor when they can play somebody who is so hateable and so unlikable, and is not really empathizable.
Yeah.
Because I feel like at a certain point, a lot of empathy that you can towards a villain is not necessarily baked into the plot, but rather it's kind of extrapolated in a universe. Whereas this, it's just like all of the information about this person is presented in just a shitty person, and you don't want to have dinner with this guy. You don't want to be near this guy. If this guy gave you a parking ticket, you would take him to court, kind of thing. Like, you're a piece of shit. I want to make your day bad, kind of thing. Like, he's just a bad person in this show, and I think that David Schwimmer is really great actor. Point being, it takes a lot to play a good villain.
Very, very good job.
Yeah, and I really want to watch the OJ trial thing, the OJ trial TV show that he was in. He played Rob Kardashian, and that's apparently really good. He's apparently really good at that. But yeah, so we have this scene where they're in the forest. That was the end of the scene, as far as I remember.
That was the end of the scene. Is they're
gonna get us killed.
Pick 3 guys and then it jumps back to Nix and Winters and another officer whose name I can't remember, and they're sort of talking about like, maybe we should think about finding a way to get rid of him.
Yeah,
like maybe we should talk about that later. And then that's kind of where they leave it, because Sobel shows up and he's like, okay, hey, get the fucking company ready to go. We're moving. He
walks in and it's like,
he walks in and everyone's like,
everybody looks so guilty.
Yep, and he knows that they're talking about him.
Oh, like, for sure.
That's the
look in his
by the body
language.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, it's great though. Like the body language and the acting. Ron Livingston, by the way, one of my favorite actors.
Oh my god, he's great in this. Also, he looks like he's right out of the 1940s. Like, this guy has the demeanor and the face for it. He looks like he was born in the mid 19th century.
He should only be in Mike Judge movies and period pieces of the 1940s.
I mean, that is kind of his whole
it is
pretty much
biography.
You know, he's actually in a really good show that I would like to cover at one point, called Louder Milk, and it's with Will Sasso, and he's an addict, and he's working in like a rehabilitation center as a volunteer or something like that. And he was apparently like a really, really bad addict, and like helping other people rehabilitate themselves. And it's Will Sasso, who's also an alcoholic, and him living together, and it's kind of him trying to help Will Sasso. And it's a good show. It's a really good show. And Ron Livingston, super undersung actor, I think.
Yeah, for real.
Fucking fantastic. Office Space is one of the best acted comedies that's ever come out, I think. My favorite like surrealist comedy.
They're beating up the computer.
What was playing in the background?
I can't remember.
The soundtrack to that is so brilliant. It's
speaking of stacked casts that really took off after that movie, Office Space.
Man. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, seriously. Who's the Tony Braxton character?
Oh fuck! I don't.
I wonder if he was in anything
I'll let you
after.
look it up. You look it up. I'll let you
Yeah,
look
look
it up.
that up.
I'm
'cause I
gonna
don't know.
look it up real quick. Oh yeah, David Herman. Yeah, he was in Idiocracy, Futurama, Dude, Where's My Car? Oh, okay, so he's been in other stuff too. Oh, he's an American Dad. Nice. Anyway, I just like that guy a lot. He was my favorite part of that movie. But Office Space, stacked cast. Everybody made it out alive pretty much. Jennifer Aniston was already good to go, but yeah,
That's true.
that's one of my favorites. Okay, so back to the narrative. I think that what would be the next scene? You've got it written down there. I think I'm missing.
They hop on. They're on the train. It's
okay, yeah.
Nix and Winter's talking on the train, and then they get to the this. Oh yeah, this is when it's confirmed. They're like, we don't know where we're going on this train ride, and Nix, Ron Livingston's character, who at this point works for intelligence for their battalion, he's a pretty high up at this point. He says, well, we're going to Europe. We're gonna.
I'd tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, I tell you. He's like, so don't tell me. And then he tells them anyway.
Their chemistry is really good. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it's great.
That's Winters and
Nix. Yeah.
Winters and Nix. Yeah, Nixon is his name, but everyone calls him Nix as a nickname. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Nix.
Yeah. And then they get to
the troop
to the
ship,
dock.
No?
They get and then they hop on this gigantic freighter that is essentially packed with
that freighter. Gives me
100,000
anxiety,
troops.
man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how packed in they are?
Yeah.
Can you?
Do you know how hot it would be? Do you know how uncomfortable it would be?
Oh yeah.
Imagine if they get hit by a U-boat torpedo or something like that.
So
They're all
chaos.
They're just dead.
Yeah,
they're all just dead.
That's 1,000 men.
Speaking of U-boat attacks, isn't there that new Tom Hanks movie where he's a captain of that, like a convoy exactly like that, and they're fighting Nazi U-boats? I think isn't that
just Captain Phillips too? Like
no, it just came out. Let me look it up because I would be interested actually to check if that is about like if it's the same time period or whatnot.
Captain Phillips 2, historical boogaloo.
Oh my god, if only, right?
My great grandfather was my grandfather was
I'm looking at. Oh, no wonder I'm looking at his producer credits. That's not what I want. Greyhound is what it's called.
Okay.
Greyhound. Yeah, early in World War II, an inexperienced U.S. Navy captain must lead an Allied convoy being stalked by Nazi U-boat wolf pack.
Oh,
so he's So I don't know when it takes place exactly, but basically that is the premise of like, he has to lead this convoy of like a couple military ships and a bunch of troop ships and transport ships on their way across to England.
That's badass.
Being stalked by a bunch of Nazi U-boats.
That sounds like a dope movie.
Scary.
Hey,
apparently it's pretty good. Yeah.
If you got movies like Tom Cruise in them, you can't lose. As Tim Heidecker said. Tom Hanks, sorry. Tom Hanks.
If you're watching a Tom Cruise movie, you're having a great day.
Yeah.
If you're watching a Tom Hanks movie, you're having a great day.
Having a better day. You're having a way better day, in my opinion.
If you're watching a movie with Tom Holland, you're having a great day. If you're watching a movie with Tom Green, you're having an okay day. I love Toms. I love Toms in all my movies.
Tom Green is only an okay day. Yeah, I got stoned. I sat on my couch. I drank a full 2-liter bottle of Fanta, and I watched Freddy Got Fingered. It was okay.
It was all right.
There's a lot of great actors named Tom. That's
all the great actors named
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Tom Hardy's new movie. You're having a great day.
Great day.
Okay.
If you're watching a stand-up comedy special with Tom Segura, you're having a great day.
Oh, Tom Segura. You gotta love that guy. Can we move back a beat to New York? I just want to make a note about how fucking amazing whatever set they created was in New York. Like the scene where they had
with loading onto the ship and stuff.
Yeah, they had the loading onto the ship and they had the buildings in the background. I don't know how they made that. I don't like it must be some sort of CG.
That's one of the shots that I was talking about. That in the end where I was like, the CG in this, it looks phenomenal.
It was
like when they're
incredible.
looking at the Empire State, or not, sorry, the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Well, the Statue of Liberty one, that was a beautiful. The whole New York sequence, I think, was beautiful. It was like 45 seconds, but it was beautiful.
It was very, very quick.
But I loved that they had that characterization of New York in that time. Like they probably had all of the buildings like kind of historically accurate. They had the fog, all of like the smog from the fucking terrible cars that were all there, gridlocking up the streets 24/7.
All the factories churning out coal to make fucking rifles.
Tanks.
No factories in New York. Robert Moses made sure of that. Robert
That's
Moses, the
probably that's
motherfucker.
true.
Yeah, I guess that came after. I guess that was the 60s. But anyway, we'll stay away from urban history.
That's a way later. Yeah.
So we're on the boat, and it's super anxiety creating.
That's talking about like
This is a nice scene.
like
We finally
Hawaiian, like or like I can't remember what the island, like the island natives, like
they're talking about going to Hawaii and hooking up with all the native girls. And
and the flamingos and shit like that.
Yeah,
a little problematic, sir.
The one like what is he, Spanish? I don't know what he was, but he was like, careful with the flamingos, they bite.
Yeah. The one guy's like,
that gets me laughing. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Or so do the naked native girls.
Yeah. It was good stuff. I
like the banter's really
good. This is a good scene of a lot of the characters, a lot of the soldiers kind of chatting and sort of like getting to know each other. And
Joe Toy
they don't know each other now, but we are getting to know them.
Yeah.
He gets paid slit Hitler's throat, and they pay him
that's right. He's talking about
they pay him the
holiday named after him
the rest of his life.
Yeah, like the insurance as well, 10 grand.
Oh, that's later. But
that's later.
Joe Toy Day.
Yeah. The one guy, he gets his knife. He's like, I'm gonna put one of these in Hitler's windpipe, and the president's gonna name a holiday after me. I'm gonna get 10 grand a month for the rest of my life.
I like that guy. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Joe Toy, yeah.
Joe Toy.
Yeah.
Gotta love him.
And then who was it? Oh, I can't remember that guy.
Garnier.
But yeah, he talks about how this is still at the point where like they don't really trust winners because he's Amish. I think he's a Quaker.
Oh yeah.
They think he's a Quaker.
Yeah, he says, "Well, how do you know he's a Quaker?" He's like, "Well, he's not Catholic." and
just
he's
the son of Abraham.
Yeah, he's just like Ross, who's the son of Abraham. And then I think it jumps down. He's like, "What's that supposed to mean?" It's like, "Well, he's Jewish." Yeah, so am I. Well, good for you. And then they fucking have a fight.
They get your nose out of my face.
Yeah, they have a fist fight in the middle of the boat. And everyone's like, "What's that about?" I don't know. They're fighting over Ross or something.
Yeah, these
fighting
two
over Sobel.
These two guys are just playing cards, like not giving
they're just
shit about the
playing cards.
Yeah, the giant brawl.
They don't even look
happening.
over. The guy doesn't even look over. He's like, "What's that about?"
I don't know.
Just does not give a shit. You gotta love the irreverence.
Absolutely.
And I guess they arrive in England at this point, and there's
That's when the training really kicks in.
Yeah, then we get to a lot of weapons training, a lot of hand-to-hand combat, a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I just like to note how like they structure the episode. Like they go day by day. Not day by day in the sense that like if a new day starts after they've already shown a title card, they'll show the next day. But they'll have like the different eras or the different scenes.
Yeah, it shows you important dates and like the lead up to D-Day.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have June 23rd, 1943 written down here for the training exercise. So they probably went through the records of this person in history.
Yeah, for sure.
And found the specific dates, which is really cool.
Yeah, their training really, I think, is gets a lot more specific to like the colonel's talking to them about tactics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's like really getting involved because, fun fact, Easy Company is like their special operations branch of the division. So they're meant to be doing stuff like taking out battlements and like doing real tactical stuff.
Yeah, finding artillery positions, destroying like supply depots.
That's their whole thing. That's all they're supposed to really be doing is like highly tactical maneuvers.
Yeah.
So they're getting a lot more of that kind of training.
Yeah.
Like a lot of hand to hand, a lot of tactics, a lot of like
they're also seen using
like that. Like
they're using like heavy MGs. They're using like SMGs.
Bazookas.
They're using bazookas.
Really well rounded, yeah.
Yeah, they have like a lot of different people. So I imagine in a specific squad they would have like a munitions expert. They would have a demolitions person, a medic person.
Demo, medics, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that was cool to see the kind of variation training, and how intense that training. Like it's pretty insane.
Sorry, I'm just looking up the makeup of an airborne squad in World War II, a U.S. parachute squad. I want to see how it breaks down. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's an American airborne squad in World War II was 12 members. You had your squad leader, your assistant squad leader. They both had M1 Grants. You have your machine gunner who has a M1916 30 cal machine gun, and they also had an M1 carbine, a little folding carbine. You have the assistant machine gunner who also has an M1 carbine. You have the ammo bearer to the machine gun, so that makes up the machine gun team, which is like one squad who has an M1 Garand. And then you have another rifle squad, which is everyone has M1 Garands except for one automatic rifleman who has a BAR. So that was kind of the makeup for a parachute rifle squad. I think, though, in the show, they more so have Thompsons and M1 carbines than they do. They don't stick to this specifically, but in the show, they more so have like several people with Thompsons and everybody else has like M1 carbines.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you see a couple of different like mounted machine gun kind of people with the M60. The M60 like the big
that was World War II. No, sorry, that was Vietnam. The M60s from Vietnam.
Yeah, there's another
Browning and stuff like
the Browning,
that. The M2 Browning is a heavy machine gun, but they wouldn't have had that in a squad capacity. They wouldn't have had
I don't think, but you do see it in the show. Like they do have people using guns like that in the show.
I wonder if they would
some
be
of the scenes later on. Some
like,
of them do have the heavy MGs.
I wonder if they would set it as like some sort of supply drop, like while they're on the field.
It could be like a more specialty too. I'm sure there's like actual like they probably have different types of squads in their battalion and stuff like that.
Yeah, use it for when the context call.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these airborne units would have like once they have a secured position or an objective finished, then they would have supply drops drop in with like more specific weaponry because like, they're not going to drop in with.
No, can you imagine dropping in with a heavy MG?
Like one guy has like a bazooka, which he drops in with, which a couple guys in
makes
the unit
sense.
would have.
Yeah,
but
most of them would probably drop with Thompsons with carbines. Like that makes sense actually, because I know in the second episode they focused more on that kind of thing with the combat starts.
The second episode is like just mostly action. It's just
mostly combat.
The events of D-Day and the night before.
Yeah, it's all D-Day. The first day of D-Day, and then the third episode's more of D-Day. It's really well done, man. It's
the pacing of the show is very it's good.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm looking forward to watching more of it.
I would also love to maybe if we want to talk about this again in another episode, I would love to.
I think that
if all of us finished the show and like
I've watched it like 5 times.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
so I'm good.
I feel like we could do kind of like a war week, like something that we have kind of like 3-month. Like we do some sort of like Band of Brothers or the Pacific or
I'd be down
Generation Kill, something like that. Be a cool. It'd be a cool thing.
Yeah, that'd be pretty.
I grew up with war movies and I grew up with action movies, so that's definitely that's good.
Right up everyone's alley. So we'll talk about that off stream.
War guns
or off podcast. Yeah, war and guns. War and gun week. So they're in England right now. We should note they're in the Midlands of England, as far as I know. And they are doing all of this training. And combat's evolved. War has changed. To quote good old
war always wait. Oh fuck! I fucked it up.
War never changes.
War never changes. That's right. God damn it.
One of them says war never changes, and one of them said war has changed.
I'm tend to agree more with Solid Snake on this one.
War has changed. War has changed. Okay, so yeah, it is. It's Solid Snake with this one, and Fallout was
3 and Solid. Yeah.
Okay. And they have this kind of cute scene with an old British man on a bicycle.
It's so funny.
We're jumping ahead a little bit there.
Oh, are we? Oh, my bad. Yeah. My bad.
They're in England. They're doing all their training. The big montage, and then we get the simulated battle. So Winters and his squad are in position. They're on some kind of maneuver. They're practicing in the British countryside to try to simulate combat in France. And so they're in position. They're just like hanging out around someone's farmhouse, and they're like, "Well, shit! Like Ross is late. Where's Ross?"
Yeah.
And then we jump to Sobel, and he's like, they run up to this fence, and he's like, "What the fuck? There's supposed to be a fence here."
Yeah.
That's just going, over the fence.
Yeah, sir. We can just go
in
over
between the
fence.
fence.
That's not the point.
They just don't do it. And the guy imitates the What? Who does he imitate?
He imitates the major.
Major.
Major's,
He imitates a major. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't remember the
their
guy's name.
commanding officer. The Smith or Smythe, I think, the guy we
Yeah.
were just talking about, the Southern gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically Sobel sitting there. Ross is sitting there trying to figure out how the hell they got so lost, because he always gets them lost. He's very bad at navigating.
Yep, and
He
it's
should maybe
shown.
delegate that.
It's shown just in the previous scene that Winters is like a very skilled cartographer.
He is very skilled at it. Yes.
Yeah, and
They touch more on that later too.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's evolved as well, like the cartographic method within war, which is an interesting kind of like inclusion in that montage. But overall, like I imagine that Winters must just be writhing in anger the entire time, just like, this is the wrong way. This is the wrong.
This idiot.
Yeah. Why do I have to deal with this moron asshole?
I had to hold this guy's hand the whole time, and he doesn't appreciate me. And
Not fair. It's not fair to the soldiers.
Especially not.
Yeah,
especially when you like, that is a horrible position to be in. To be like in any kind of military formation, and then to know that your commanding officer is either incompetent or just actually very stupid.
Or
both. Because
in this case, both.
Yeah, because he's going to get you killed. He's literally going to have you killed for nothing because he was too stupid to know what he was doing.
His own hubris.
More tragic than anything, really.
Yeah, his own hubris gets like everybody killed. Like, can you imagine? That would be absolutely unthinkable. Like, fucking horrible thing to happen. So let's hope he doesn't make it to the end of the episode.
They cut the fence, right?
Let's hope.
Yeah,
they did do that. Yeah.
The one guy who does all the impressions, he does an impression of the commanding officer, and he kind of tricks him. He's behind the bush. He's like, "Sobel, what the hell's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, what? Major? Is that you? Yeah. What the hell are you doing? Why are you stopped? Well, there's a fence, sir. Well, then cut the damn fence." And he's like, "Yes, sir." So then he cuts this fence, which is penning in many cow.
Yeah, a lot of cow.
So many cows.
Several cow are penned in by this fence.
At least 6.
At least 6 cow. And he cuts this fence, and they go on their way. But we jump back to Winters, and he, in a very excellent scene where he like breaks up the squad. He's like, "Okay, all right, first squad, you're gonna maneuver on the right. Second squad's gonna maneuver on the left. I'm gonna take third squad up the center, and we're gonna meet up, and we're gonna pinch in and grab this farmhouse." So then they move and they do their maneuver. And we get
this
the
old
scene
man.
I think Tony was talking about.
This old man's riding down the street. He sees the guys go in front of him. He turns around and goes the other way. This guy's going in front of him.
He just
turns
wants
around
to
again,
avoid
and there's more
everybody.
soldiers.
Yeah. He
I
wakes
want to
up,
be that man.
It's so funny.
Same here.
Winters walks up to him and he's like, "Well, Yankee, it seems you've caught me." And he's like, "Yes, yeah, well, apologies for and I believe this actor, this older British gentleman, I believe he is a British veteran.
Oh, that's great. Oh
yeah.
Okay.
If I'm remembering that correctly, I believe he is also a
and Sobel yells out, "Oh, what does he yell? Are you Silver?
Hi ho, Silver!"
Hi ho, Silver.
He says, you hear him yell "Hi ho, Silver." It cuts to him again, leading his troops in a big old clump, marching down the street at full speed, running
with his gun up.
And the British gentleman is like, "Is that the enemy?" You know what? Yes, it is.
Matter of fact,
it is.
And then he just gives him like a kind of salute and
he does the hat,
wishes him well.
And they go on their way.
Yeah.
Very fun scene.
Very fun scene. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm
that telling
scene a lot.
When I grow up, I want to be that man.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Good job, Yanks.
Good job, Yanks. You've caught me.
It's good stuff. So what's the next beat? I don't have it written down.
The next beat is Sobel is being reprimanded by one of the major's assistants. He's saying like, "Who exactly ordered you to cut that fence?"
Actually, I think that man is a major. Actually, I'm pretty sure
he's a major. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So he's probably assistant to the colonel, and he's probably assistant to the commanding officer or one of the other company commanders. And he says, "Who ordered you to cut that man's fence?" And we get a shot of the fence they cut, and all the cows are taken off. And he's like, "Well, the colonel did, sir." "I'm sorry, what? What did you say?" "The colonel did." "And you said the colonel ordered you to cut that fence?" "Yes, he was there, and he ordered me to cut it." "The colonel's on leave. He isn't here." and then he walks away. The camera pans, and you see him walking past all these cows because they're trying to wrangle these cows to bring them back to this person's farm. And
he's a mark. He's a
that
mark.
was so funny. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
He got bamboozled. That was brilliant.
It's so good, man.
Yeah, he was not happy about it. And,
and then who
Simon Pegg appears. I have Simon Pegg with a big heart written down here, but I forget what the context that he shows up in.
So he drives down to where the company is hanging out. This little couple
They're all playing
of
basketball.
Buildings. Yeah, they're all so. In order to house everybody, many buildings in many towns in England were just boarding up American GIs. Like they were just like, we have spare rooms. Go sleep there. Like wherever you can find a place to sleep is a place to sleep. So they're all sitting around, kind of playing basketball, hanging out in this little quaint English town. And Simon Pegg drives up. He's of course Ross's assistant. He comes up to Lieutenant Winters and he hands him a letter. He says, "It's from Sobel." And he leaves. And he walks away. And they throw a basketball at his car. And he drives away. He hates him because he's a little rat. And Winters reads it. He says, "You got to be kidding me." He's being court-martialed by Sobel because, of course, Sobel was reprimanded, so he has to make an example out of somebody.
Yeah.
So he
big man or little man complex.
Real Napoleon complex.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he basically says, "Okay, I'm going to court-martial you because you had latrine duty at 1000 hours, but I actually changed it to 945, and you didn't do it." And Winters, of course, very calmly explains that at no point was relayed to him in any way because all of Sobel's examples as to why he told him that were bullshit because he doesn't have a phone and there was no runner and there were no letters and yada, yada, yada.
How was he supposed to know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they get into his office and Sobel's like, "Well, I'm going to relieve you of all of your leave for the next 2 months. You'll have no time off or you can be court-martialed." And then he drops the act for a second. He says, "Listen, Dick, you spent all your time on the base anyway. Just take the punishment and
be a man
Winters,
and like remove
be a man,
your
accept the
freedom.
punishment.
Yeah, be a man and bend over this barrel for me, please.
Yeah,
just be a man.
Let me show like I still have command of this unit. Like I'm not a total idiot."
Yeah.
And then Winters, for the first time in the show, really stands up for himself and says, "Okay." And he signs the letter, and he's like, "That's my signature. For court martial. I require." Yeah. And he walks away very much to the stunned silence of Ross, who is genuinely very surprised that this guy is basically telling him to go fuck himself.
Yeah. Because this guy has been a yes man the entire time, but he is not the typical yes man. He is the yes man with an end in mind. He has something that he's planning and that he's trying to kind of socially engineer through just placating this weak-willed small man, small shitty man.
And you small shitty man.
Yeah, and you see him just deflate, just like kind of just completely deflate, and it's like, oh, okay, so this is really bad. This is getting really bad.
This is bad for him because it shows that his unit does not have cohesion and that people in his ranks are it's not, things aren't going well.
Yeah.
No, and it gets a lot worse for him too.
Oh,
We're
boy,
about to see that
as we find out in the next scene.
Yeah. Immediately after this, literally all of the NCOs in the unit, all of the staff sergeants, corporals, sergeants, everybody in this unit basically sits down and says, "Okay, like we're gonna basically write in and say, we're gonna say we are gonna quit because if we don't trust his command, and we could very well be executed for what we're doing."
Yeah.
Well, it's either
they very well could be like that's mutiny, right? Like mutiny.
It is essentially mutiny, yes.
So they could be shot for that, right?
It's so weird that like if somebody who is incompetent and who the brass obviously can't see is incompetent because they're of their own like preconceptions about this person, like, and all of these people who you've put hundreds of thousands of dollars of resources into are then killed. Like the government and the army is wasting resources by placating these people who are just nepotistic.
Unfortunately, they don't care for that exact reason. It's just a statistic, right? And like, when you think about it, it is horrible. But you think about it as like, if this unit, if all of these NCOs show up and they're like, "Hey, we're going to quit because this guy's a fucking idiot," then if you're like, "Well, okay, I guess we'll fire him because of that, because you guys feel unsafe. Then that means that every other unit could do the same thing.
Exactly.
Their way if they don't like their
Yeah.
officer. It's a dangerous precedent. So I could see why the major is so fucking pissed about it, because he doesn't want to be the one who gives this kind of attitude weight. However, I of course empathize with the soldiers, because if your commanding officer is as incompetent and cowardly as this man, you should absolutely be able to go to someone higher up and say, listen, if we
this is
follow
what's
him into
going
battle,
on.
we will die. And that should be a very valid
Yeah. And I think they I think like the colonel, I'm pretty sure he took all that into account, because like
I am
we'll
very
see what
interested in him.
happens. Yeah.
He played this smartly, I think.
He played it so smart.
Very
He took
diplomatically.
everything into account. He was probably like, why are all these people mutinying? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
There has to be a reason.
Winters is getting court-martialed from this guy, and then all of a sudden all his NCOs are like, nah, I don't want to follow this guy. What's going on here, right?
Yeah, and he was just saying in a scene previous that Winters is an exemplary soldier.
Yeah, so he probably has this I don't know what the word is, like this.
He knows what's up.
Like he already thinks that Winters is a good soldier, so he's probably like, what's going on here? Like what's I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, you know?
Yeah. There has to be
the
some
way
sort
he
of
does
disconnect.
it is so good.
Yeah. But we have to we're jumping ahead a little bit. Let's frame it properly, because we have all of the soldiers. We have Stephen Graham. We have not all of them, but at least like
all
the NCOs,
all
of
them. The staff officers in this company.
It's at least like 20 different men sitting at the table, and they all have a pencil and a piece of paper, and they all write down the same thing. I'm withdrawing from the Corps, or from the.
And first, I think it's one of the Wahlberg brothers. I can't remember which Wahlberg it is that plays this character, but he sort of seems to be the leader of them all. I think he might.
He's one of their sergeants.
I can't remember what rank he has, but he says
he's a sergeant.
Like, you all need to know that, like, if we do this, we could be killed. We could be executed for it. So you have to be prepared for that. And then the one guy next to him says,
I will not follow that man into combat.
Yep.
Yeah. I think echoing what everyone's thinking of, like, well, they could kill us now, or he could get us killed later.
I would rather die by my own hand than die by this man's stupidity and hubris, which I think is a cool position to take. And yeah, so they all kind of organize, and they go into the colonel's office, and they present their argument. And they're all like really timid and obviously very afraid, because they're standing before their judge, jury, and executioner.
Right here, right?
Yeah, like this is like really serious. Like you could really die from the get killed, put against a wall and shot, they say. And essentially the colonel says, if it wasn't today, if we weren't on the eve of this giant conflict in this giant invasion mission that we're going on, we would kill you all. Like, all of you would be dead. There would be no survivors from you guys.
Yeah,
like, there's no way. This is straight up mutiny. And he takes Stephen Graham and he makes him a private.
I think he bumps everybody down to private.
He does.
Yeah.
Is it everybody he bumps down to private?
I think he bumps everybody down to private. One guy he reassigns out of the unit. That guy we don't really meet, though, so that was sort of a throwaway thing.
Yeah.
But everybody else, all the main characters there, that he bumps everybody down to private and essentially takes away their rank.
But they still have to go in. We will see in the next scene. It is the next scene with.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the next scene, we have Ross sitting in the study of the colonel, and it's like this beautiful, really nice set. It's like this ornate.
It's like a British manor house.
Yeah.
Commandeered.
It's obviously
right
like
fireplace.
They're staying at like the richest person in the town's house.
He's a colonel.
Yeah, he's a colonel. He's got to get treated nice. Yeah, he's paid his dues.
Of rank.
There you go.
Exactly.
And
whether or not it's deserved.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this
guy's case, I think it is. He seems like a decent enough commanding officer.
He seems like he understands the implications of this, of like how serious this war is and how serious this specific moment in the conflict is. And I don't think that he take the boat. I think that he wants to keep everything as like even keeled as possible. And if the best way to do that is getting rid of Ross, then I think that
Well,
that's
he
just
probably saw him as like
the
the
best
focal
way.
point of all these issues, right? Like
Exactly.
all of a sudden, all these things are coming up around Ross, and obviously, like he's not like he trained these men really well.
Mhm.
It's not like he did a bad job in training them, realistically, right? Like
Well, like we were
he made them
saying,
good soldiers,
yeah.
as I said earlier, right? But so I guess they didn't want to demote him and fire him or anything like that because really it's not deserved.
And he was
So
following
they
orders.
promoted him out of the company to train non-combatants in a school
Yeah,
to make the jumps.
in a special parachute school.
Yeah,
And that's
that they just made. Yeah,
that's a great
Yeah.
position. That's a great
that is.
position.
But think of it like this: you spent your whole time in the army training these men to fight under you
Mhm.
to fight the Nazis, essentially.
he wanted to
And
go
then
over to Europe and get some
Yes.
glory.
And all of a sudden, that's taken away from you, right?
Yeah.
Like
Devastating.
the look on his face
It's
and like the
wow.
reaction, the zoom in, it was really well done.
Yep.
This was
He's like,
very
so
well.
he's like, I'm losing Easy Company, and I was just like, ooh, it's like, ooh,
I'm
but I didn't feel
losing.
bad because
I'm losing Easy Company. He said. He
Look-
didn't say I'm being reassigned. He said I'm losing Easy Company like it was a part of him. Like I'm
well, at
losing
that
my
point
arm.
it is,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
he spent 2 years training these men,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's part
It's
of
a
his
big
life.
commitment. It's a huge
Right, like-
commitment.
yeah.
It's interesting to
No.
see his reaction, and it was
Yeah.
very satisfying. I'm gonna
His
say,
reaction when he when he drank the whiskey too. I'm pretty sure it was whiskey.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
They hand him the he puts it down.
Not for me.
It's
Not
had
for
me
me.
laughing.
Yeah, gotta breathe out, Ross.
Sums
You gotta
up his,
breathe out.
Sums
Um,
up his whole character right
his
there. Right?
his
in that
assholishness.
one drink.
Exactly. And I think that is pretty much the denouement of the episode. We're heading
Yeah.
to the kind of wind
Yeah,
down.
we're going to the.
We're on the wind down for sure. I think there's
Yeah.
maybe only about 20 minutes left. Like we've
Yeah,
pretty much
maybe
talked
even
about
less,
most
yeah.
of the show at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
May 1944. There's a
Mhm.
bit of a flash forward, and
Yeah.
they're predicting the best way to assault D-Day, and they're kind of going over the ways in which the beaches separated. So you have Utah, Omaha, and a whole bunch of different ones. Utah and Omaha are on the farthest west hand side, as far as I could remember. And I think that those are the ones that our company
The Americans
is going to.
focusing on. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
yeah,
3 beaches. I think that the
Juneau,
Americans is a Canadian
Yeah.
one.
and that was Juneau
Sword,
Beach. Sorry, Juneau Beach was
Geo,
ours.
Sword, yeah, Juno's our Sword was another one. Shit, I can't remember what the other British one was.
I'm gonna
There
Point
was
du
like
Hoc is the one I'm thinking of. Point du Hoc and
Off the top
here
of
we
my
go.
head,
I want to look at the map because I genuinely want to hear. So yeah, Utah Beach and Omaha Beach are the two main ones for the United States, and then there was Point du Hoc, which was a special infiltration by the Rangers, and then you had Gold Beach, which was British. You had Juneau Beach, which was ours, Canadians, and then Sword Beach was also British. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think that like the way that they kind of lay out this assault is really cool. I like this a lot.
starting off with Nick explaining it to the officers.
Yeah.
And it's
I
kind of
think
And then it like goes over Heiliger saying it to the soldiers. I think that was really well done.
Isn't this the same? Because at first it's we jump and because obviously now several people have come in to kind of fill this power vacuum in the unit. One of them being
Heiliger is the one that takes over from Sobel.
yes, he takes over from Sobel, so he's sort of their main commanding officer, and then one of the new captains, who is
Buck,
played by Neil McDonough, Captain Buck Compton,
Buck Compton,
who's
that's
great.
That's when they said right before the scene where they explain it. That's what Tony was saying about.
Yeah.
Never take from these men.
They're driving around, and Winters is kind of reprimanding Buck, the new captain, saying, "Hey man, like you can't play poker with them." He's like, "I'm just trying to get to know everybody. Like I'm supposed to lead these men in combat. I'm just trying to get to know everybody, kind of be their friend." And he's like, "Yeah, but what if you won?" He's like, "What?
Yeah, what if you won?
What if you won? Like never put yourself in a position where you take from them, because that's not leadership. You know what I mean? That's taking advantage of these people who respect you."
Yep. I couldn't remember the exact contect in which that was actually said, but that makes that's
And then he goes up to Heiliger's tent and he's like, "On my last jump, had a compass."
And he figures out
flat.
He figures out that what they're practicing for in their practice jumps is
It's Normandy.
is Normandy. He sort of goes and he follows the coordinates all along a map of the coast of Normandy, and he figures out where they're going and then which beaches.
Yeah,
they're
they
gonna
did the England
Oh.
jump, the distance, because the distance would have been the same because they needed to know if they had enough fuel for it and
Yeah.
to get back and all these types of things. So the distance was the same, and I guess they took that distance from the linear grid and just zoop,
Yep.
Normandy.
Yep.
There
They
you
did a
go.
bunch of shit. It wasn't just distance.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of other stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
again,
it didn't
shows
seem
you-
easy actually.
shows you their, or I guess Heiliger and Winter's skill in cartography, right?
And that's
Be able to figure
hugely
all of
important.
that out by a name of a town and a compass and time.
Yeah.
Really cool.
That's
Very, very cool.
really cool. I like that a lot.
I can
And then
barely find my way downtown with a Google Maps, so fuck me, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I
And
hear
then
you, man.
right after he says it's Normandy, that's when they go Nixon explaining it.
Yeah.
We jump to the brief from
the
Army Intelligence basically being like, here's the fucking plan, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the main plan surrounding our main characters is going to be destroying a garrison that's pretty
Similar
inland.
small.
It's pretty, like, I would say a good amount inland from the beaches.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
would
they
have
jumped
to,
way behind the lines.
Yeah,
I would
they have
imagine
to
you would have
destroy
to.
this-
Yeah.
Yeah, they
have to
weren't
destroy this
focusing
garrison.
more on I guess they were focusing more on like the coastal batteries and stuff like that, right?
And then they have to take
Bridgehead
the town
and
of
roads.
Carentan, which is
Yeah.
a French town
Mhm.
that will essentially allow them to connect Utah and Omaha and allow the beachhead to grow.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Interestingly
Crazy
enough,
big objective.
Hell Let Loose, the World War II tactical first-person shooter, it's out
Yeah.
on Steam. They just released an update, the Carentan update, which is all focused on American paratroopers
wow.
and stuff. So
Oh.
actually, very interesting that we're talking about this now
That's neat.
because they're having a free weekend right now. Obviously, if you're listening to this,
Hey.
it won't be on anymore. But for right now, it's very interesting. I've been playing it this weekend.
time
It's,
of
it's a great
recording.
game.
That's timely.
Yeah,
That's very
exactly.
cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
Yeah,
cool
so
game.
that,
I like
was-
that.
that was
I
the
like it.
objective, I guess, was to take Carentan, which
Yeah.
is a pretty important town.
Yeah.
Very important town.
Seems to
Without
be.
it, they could probably get swept back into the ocean, right? Like,
Exactly. Well, the point of just connecting the beaches together so that they
It's
could,
huge. yeah,
because if they're isolated, then it's a lot harder to
exactly. To
move
take
further
them.
inland.
Command and Conquer.
Pretty
Um,
much.
They have one of the generals walking through the barracks as well, or through the operating base, saying like, make sure to sign up for insurance. Make sure to
That's
sign
not
up for
that
insurance.
was one of the Wahlbergs that was saying that.
Oh,
no,
one
that
of-
was just
oh,
one of
okay,
the
my
com-
bad.
That was just one of the commanders.
I can't remember what his name is.
The lieutenant. That character's name? I don't
There's
remember.
too
either.
many characters.
Sergeant. Fuck, I can't remember his name.
There's too many characters.
There's a lot of there's dozens. Michael Fassbender is in this.
You're
Simon
right.
Pegg is in this.
Michael
Everybody's in this.
Fassbender's in this.
There's
Yeah, Michael Fassbender plays their MG guy for
Yeah.
the platoon.
there's
yeah.
24 like there's at least 20 different people in the main cast, which
Yeah.
is just like a pretty overwhelming. And then I'm seeing like a list of 100 different people in the supporting
so many
cast.
cameos, so many things. It's crazy.
It's a 10 episode series. That to me is impressive as it stands.
I always relate it to like Black Hawk Down because every time I rewatch Black Hawk Down, I recognize someone new. I'm like, oh shit, you're another huge actor now.
Yeah,
That cast
exactly.
is like 40 people long.
Yeah.
The main cast.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones always got me with that, and
Yeah,
The
Game of
Wire and
Thrones, too.
stuff. It was always hard to
Yeah.
keep up.
Just these massive HBO shows, man.
Yeah,
I
these
like that.
sprawling HBO shows.
HBO do be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really do. Sopranos, I never had the problem. I don't know why, because the name kind of stuck.
I feel like it's a smaller scale.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's more of a familial scale than like an intergovernmental like crime drug syndicate.
And it's also a lot longer too,
Dynamic.
right? So you do remember, you see a lot more of the characters. And you
2
can remember
seasons
their names.
longer than like The Wire, let's say. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is pretty
So-
impressive considering the fact that The Wire had so much content in 5 seasons.
That's true.
I'd love to cover The Sopranos on this show at some point. I'm rewatching it again right now because people with anxiety like to rewatch shows that they've already seen. Apparently, I've
This is
learned
true.
that about myself.
Huh.
So
This is true.
why I watch The Sopranos twice every year since I was
Mhm.
12.
Yeah.
So yeah, And yeah, they have Mark Wahlberg going through saying, make sure to get your insurance policy. You don't want to.
Mark Wahlberg, but it is one of the Wahlbergs.
One of the
it's
Wahlbergs.
Johnny
Oh yeah,
Wahlberg.
sorry. Yeah, it's not the
Johnny
guy.
Wahlberg.
It's not the racist one that blinded the Vietnamese guy with a broom handle in an alleyway in Boston. That's a real story. Look it up. Mark Wahlberg.
Okay.
Piece of shit.
Mark Wahlberg did that? Ooh.
Yeah, that's not even an exaggeration at all.
He really did.
He really did that. He's a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And he never
something else.
apologized for it. He never went out and tried to find the guy. And people have called him out. Anyway, I hate that guy. I'm not a fan of Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
But he's going through and he's telling everybody
make sure
you don't want to
don't let your
deprive.
family sell you $1,000 or something.
Yeah,
like
don't
that.
deprive your family of $10,000 or whatever it is.
Sign your goddamn life insurance because statistically speaking, half of you are
Gonna
going to die.
probably die.
Yeah. How grim must that have been?
Well,
like
think of what they're doing, right? Like they're jumping at night.
At the time, you don't have the statistics. You don't know.
Yeah.
But you're jumping at night behind ridiculously well-trained German soldiers.
Yeah, huge enemy defenses.
You're parachuting down. They could just pop and you're dead.
Yep.
Which happens to a lot. You can land in the middle of a whole group of Germans and just die.
Yep.
Yeah,
have
you never
no
know.
control over where you land.
Mhm.
Think about that real quick.
I mean,
Scary
especially
shit.
when you consider
They didn't
how
have the-
often huge groups of soldiers would get pushed off course, or like planes would get pushed off course, and you just end up landing so far away from where you're supposed to land. It's insane. Yeah.
Which, anyway.
I could
Really
do it, man.
crazy.
I have massive respect for the people who did this because I could never.
And I think when they were doing they were talking about the objectives and everything, you could see it in a lot of their faces that this is real.
Mhm.
And it's like sinking in that, oh my God, we're actually doing this.
Yeah.
We're actually going to go get shot. There's a good chance I die.
think
You can
a
see it
great-
in their faces when they're explaining it. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Like,
Also-
oh shit.
Also, everybody in 1944 smoked cigarettes. Figured that one out. in this
Everybody.
film. Everybody smokes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone's got two cartons of smokes in their pack. Everybody.
One's got one on their ear, another one in their mouth. Like it's
Yeah.
everybody smokes.
Always ready
This
to
was
go.
back when it was good for you, so it's different.
Yeah, it was medicinal tobacco.
Yeah, I think a great example of that, Carson, of that, like having it sink in is like you go through this training and you're a hothead guy, and then they're all sitting there, right, prepping their packs before they're getting on a plane, and they get the letter.
Mhm.
We're launching. load up,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
going. And he's sitting there and he's like, that's why they fucking gave us ice cream, and like everybody's all of a sudden sad. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it's like, oh shit, like we have to go now. Like it's real now.
Yeah.
And which I believe is a scene right after. The scene
Yeah.
right after they explain the plan.
We're
is
talking
just-
about all his Joe
Yeah.
Toys again, talking about all the shit he's got.
Yeah. Oh, that's very funny. This guy's very funny.
like
going
him.
through his pack. He's like explaining everything. Is I got the fucking smokes. I got the M2 mine. I got the bazooka. I got the grenade launchers. I got the thing. I got all this stuff. I got like 100 pounds. It weighs more than me. And
I
that's not
still
even-
have my gun.
Yeah, that's not even including my parachute, my reserve chute, and my M1. And also I got 2 packs of smokes.
My friends like, we keep the brass knuckles.
Oh shit! I don't have any brass
I
knuckles.
use the brass knuckles.
Yeah, this guy's really charming. He's cool.
A lot of them are like him. Garnier is another one. The guy whose brother died.
Yeah.
You got the note.
So I was
letter
about to bring that up. We don't have to go into that scene or that whole storyline in detail because it's kind of convoluted for the amount of time that it takes up.
Yeah.
But like this one soldier, Bill, his his brother gets killed in Italy, and somebody sends a letter to. Was it him or sent a letter to his buddy?
His
Go to-
wife, one
yeah.
of the guy's wives, keeps up with like events that happen.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
yeah,
guess
that's
they
what it
bring him
was.
back home or something like
letters.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so she wrote it to him.
So she found out that this guy's brother died, and there's this whole conversation about whether or not you should tell the brother before the jump, or if you should not tell him, and like waiting to see
Until
if he's
later.
gonna die on this airborne,
Yeah,
and then he'll never
'Cause
know
it
that
might
his
throw
brother
you-
died.
Think of it. It might like throw the guy off, and he's an officer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The guy in question's an officer.
Yeah.
So like, is that
Important
a good
role.
idea?
important.
Is it a good idea to just like throw a curveball at you the night before you jump?
3 hours before you hop on a plane and go over to Europe and launch on the greatest invasion of human history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a real moral moral question that I mean I'm still kind of trying to think of what I would do. I imagine that I would tell him because it's just like the human thing
I
to
would
do.
as well.
Because like what if he dies?
Too. My thinking about it is like, well, at the very least I tell you this, and then that gets you so pissed off that you fight even harder when you hit the ground. So
there you go, yeah. Show your war face.
Yeah. And like also like imagine like after if he ever finds out that you knew and you just didn't mention it, you know?
Yeah. But that would be like sacrificing
lasting consequences as well.
That would be like sacrificing your friendship for his emotional potentially saving his life, like making him more focused in battle. So it's a real question, like if you care about this guy enough where you don't believe in his abilities and emotional stability enough to be able to go through with it, or you tell him because that's the human thing.
Your trust in the guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we know that they told him.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, he didn't tell him. He found the note by accident.
Yeah, he found out on his own. They switched. They got the same jacket or something, and then they were in a movie theater, and then he reads it in the middle of the movie theater. And then the guy who was going to tell him approaches him afterward, and it's just like a somber kind of tone. I think it's the next morning. I think it's the next day because it's the next morning
before they board the ships.
This is right when they're boarding to get ready to go because the previous night they were supposed to, but because of the heavy fog, it got canceled. So we are now in this section. We are back at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have caught up in time.
Yeah.
And we're about to launch into D-Day.
Yeah. And it's pretty much the end of the episode at this point. There's a really good shot of the soldiers staring into the camera, which was another callback to Full Metal Jacket, which I really liked a lot. It was really, really stirring, and just them kind of waiting to potentially die. Yeah, it's really scary.
I also loved the shot. I loved the scene of Winters sitting there in front of his platoon, and he's just like says a couple little words, and then we get a shot of him going down the line and helping every single person up and into the plane before he gets in it himself. And I thought that really kind of encapsulated exactly why he deserves to still be there and the other guy does not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep, an altruistic person who understands the benefit of like kind of team cohesion and an even keel. Like not putting yourself
synergy, if you will.
Yeah, synergy. Yeah. There you go.
Very synergistic mindset within a team dynamic.
Very 2003 businessman of you, Sam.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. This housing bubble will never crash.
The banks will never let us down.
I have full faith.
Subprime mortgages, go crazy.
Go crazy. It's free real estate.
It's free
We're giving this shit away.
Oh man, I need a drop. It's free real estate drop. Oh man. And yeah, so there's that scene him helping up all of those guys with like hundreds of pounds of gear on them. And you can see them like struggling to like walk up a set of stairs.
Get in the plane,
They can't even make it up into the plane, which speaks for itself. And all of these men are like incredibly terrified.
Understandably.
Yeah, obviously. Like this is not something that they're all like pumped for, nor do they have like the morale to necessarily take on.
Well, they're motivated and they want to do it, right?
They're motivated.
That's what they train for.
Yeah, you have to be motivated to do what they do.
Yeah.
But like I can imagine that the kind of existential dread of what's happening is kind of setting in at this moment, that it can't really be avoided by any sort of like militaristic discipline edited within somebody. And the scene, like the final scene that kind of ends off this episode is, or the shot rather, final shot.
Yeah, the final shot
is really, really very impressive, and I cannot imagine how much money it cost them. I can't fucking imagine.
All the planes going, right?
Yeah,
the hundreds of planes and the hundreds of ships underneath them.
It really sets the scale of
like,
the battle.
Yeah, like holy shit,
planes. Hundreds of ships.
Yep. And you see like literally 20 planes take off, and they're all. And
there's a lot more than that. In
Yeah.
reality, there was like a lot more than that.
Yeah, I can imagine. It was way more.
A lot
but, like,
more ships.
This scene itself was fucking super impressive, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine how much aviation nerds love this show.
Oh boy, do I love this. Yeah,
Oh, are you
this,
an aviation nerd?
to a certain extent?
Yeah.
I just love planes, especially when it comes to World War II.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
This was great. Give me all the shots. I
Yeah.
love the shots earlier of the Thunderbolts flying around. At the
Yeah,
airfield.
when
That
they
was
first
pretty
get into
well.
England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They might not have been Thunderbolts. They might have been British. They were. Yeah, it was great. I just give me all the planes.
All the planes. All
Yeah.
the planes.
Yeah.
Well, this was good stuff.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any
and then-
concluding notes?
I do. Right at the end
I do
here,
as well.
we
Oh,
get
yeah?
the shot. It fades to black, and we get, of course, the very famous quote by Dwight D. Eisenhower that he said right on the eve of D-Day as he was addressing the invasion force, where he said, "Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon us this great and noble undertaking." And that's the end of the episode. Then we go to the credits.
It's really well done.
Yeah.
Very, very,
Yeah.
very
Really good
apt
episode.
quote. And
Excellent setup. Incredible cliffhanger.
Yep.
Yeah, for real, right?
yeah, like
That's what I'm saying. Episode 2 is probably the best one in the series. It's up there. I'd say Crossroads is probably the best episode of the
Mhm.
series.
Is that the Battle of the Bulge? Is that one?
No, I think that's episode 4, Crossroads. The one when with Winters, who's like typing out the events and then shows it happening as he's typing.
Crossroads is episode
Really well done.
5.
But yeah, so I had a couple things I'd like to add, like with just
sure.
like through context. Like
Yeah.
I know when they did the planning and stuff like that, they used like sand tables, is what they're called. I don't know if they mention it in the episode or not. Basically, what they did was they had these like huge tables made, 3D modeled tables of the whole operation.
Oh, wow.
Like to scale operation.
I love
like,
that stuff.
massive.
That's crazy.
And they would like with roads, with bridges, with forests, houses,
board game versions of grand
everything.
strategy games.
Yeah, but I'm talking like huge scale.
Yeah.
And they would have the soldiers come in and study these sand tables, so that way they would know the area really, really well and what they had to do and all that fun stuff. Just a little neat thing
that's
they did.
very cool. That's part of like the
It wasn't
choreographic
just pictures.
process.
Essentially, they really went in depth with all this stuff, like in real life.
The tech that you see in this show is really cool. I kind of wish that I could see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I would also recommend watching the documentary that they did with this, where they show they talk, like it's all the interviews and everything. They show the footage of it.
I'm actually
So it's no acting. It's all the veterans talking about the events of the war, their training, D-Day, Bastogne, what is the one in the?
Sorry, just one second. I have
There's
an image
something
of
that they
a
did. I can't
sand
remember what it
table.
is.
The one like what Carson was just talking about up screen right now. Something I just off of Google. Reference.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm looking them up too. This is very cool. This sort of augmented reality kind of thing. This is
like miniatures.
It's really well done.
Well, you
really
actually
really
see a lot of this sort of stuff at the War Museum in
I can see that.
Ottawa.
In
Like
Ottawa,
a lot of the recreations of the battles in this specific kind of
that's
style.
how they trained the soldiers to learn the operations. Was here's what the land looks like. You better memorize this because chances are you're not going to land where you got to land.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're probably not going to. You're going to be way off. You got to be able to know landmarks and then figure out on your map where those landmarks are and where you have to go.
Crazy.
That's very cool.
Because this is like they dropped with a map and like pretty much nothing and into a country they've never been into in the middle of the night. And you got to find out where to go.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do that?
And the geography of Europe in comparison to the geography of the United States is very different.
Super different.
Very
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hills, especially France.
Especially France. Yeah.
Muddy.
Especially
Hills,
Muddy.
rivers.
Everywhere. The weather is way different, way more seems like the weather is less predictable in a lot of the time as well. Probably more rain, more extreme.
This whole show you're watching, you're like, oh well, everything's mucky.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
You're up right there.
Yeah, it's just raining constantly. Because it's also in the spring, right? Like you're going into Europe in the middle of like spring rains, you know. you're fucking fighting everybody. It's oh jeez, and summer and the humidity and stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, any season in war would not be pleasant. I'm gonna say that. No matter what
however, just remember the worst of all seasons: never invade Russia in the winter.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lesson that can be learned from several pieces of history.
Napoleon.
Shout out Napoleon.
Shout out to Napoleon.
Dumbass. Dumb. What can you do? All right, boys. I think that this is a wrap. We got 2:10 down without an intermission either. We kind of just rolled through the intermission.
We didn't really need to. This kind of really,
This flowed really well, I think.
It did.
Yeah, I think this was a good episode. I'm pleased with it.
It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, dude, it was a blast. Thank you so much for being on.
Excited to have you back on Wednesday.
Yeah, when we did
coming back.
I still gotta watch the Pacific.
Yeah, we're coming back. We're doing the Pacific.
Haven't seen that yet.
And
it's good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We're definitely going to make sure to hit you up anytime we're doing anything military or history themed.
History.
That's my ish.
That'd be great.
What would you say is like your favorite time period, Carson? Like,
God.
Or maybe if we talk about military history, like, what is one thing that you could say, like, oh, this is my favorite thing to like really study?
Rome is really interesting.
Rome.
Yeah,
like, I'm talking about Carson, by the way.
Julius Caesar Rome, like the end of the Republic, is really interesting time period. But I would honestly say probably my favorite time in history is probably 900s England, when the Vikings started invading them.
Looking forward to Valhalla then.
I'm so excited for that, man. But like, it's definitely like a really interesting time in history.
Yeah,
or like,
have you seen Netflix, The Last Kingdom?
Like, I've also read all the books.
Yeah, nice, sick. Okay,
of course you have.
That's what got me into that time period. It's fiction, but I mean, it's historical fiction. Or like Ottomans trying to invade Europe is really interesting time period.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of stuff you guys could make episodes on that are really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, whenever we have a backyard session, I know that Carson is always fact checking our historical claims.
Myself.
The Ottoman Empire killed 6 million people. He'll be like, well, they actually killed 500,635.
The rest is fake news.
Yeah,
the rest is Habsburg propaganda.
Habsburg, they ran Europe.
They're inbred propaganda, three eyes and messed up chins.
Oh, that's so funny.
That is a joke that 1% of the people who heard it are gonna get. You gotta love
everybody knows the Habsburgs. Come on,
who the fuck knows the Habsburgs?
Inbred families.
I went to Austria.
Bloodline pure, guys. Like,
I went to Austria with no idea of any sort of militaristic history in Austria other than Hitler came from there, essentially. I thought that they were kind of just like a random European country that didn't have a lot done.
Definitely a huge powerhouse.
Huge mistake.
For a very, very long time.
Yeah, big mistake. Big blind spot. It felt like learning that I was pronouncing chameleon like chameleon, like that sort of gap. Like that sort of thing where you're like, oh shit, that's something that I really should have known.
Huge yikes.
But yeah, it is what it is. You gotta love Vienna. But yeah,
I'll have one boggle with cream cheese, please.
There you go.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Boggle isn't right?
Bagel. I hate that dichotomy. It's a bagel. Okay, let's end it off. This is the wind down. Thank you very much for sticking all the way through. We appreciate and love you.
We'll throw an ad for Raid Shadow Legends in the middle somewhere anyway, so don't worry about it.
Absolutely. We'll make sure to cut Carson off and just completely ruin his point with an ad at any given point.
And then just don't pick up where it left off.
Just skip to the next scene. Exactly. Okay, Atlas, when are you streaming next? Or what's your streaming schedule, rather?
My schedule is Mondays and Fridays at 8 p.m. and Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So check them out.
Check me out there, Atlas Hugs, no spaces on Twitch.
And Instagram as well? You got an Instagram?
Instagram is Atlas_Hugs.
Yep, absolutely. ReddVelvet, my good friend Carson, you are an inconsistent streamer, but a streamer nonetheless. He plays a lot of Fallout, a lot of Skyrim, a lot of good stuff. Go check out his channel.
Getting into Valorant a lot lately too.
There you go,
nice.
Valorant too. Some esports coming down the pipeline.
Friends that I play with.
Yeah, very nice. And I am hopefully going to be bringing my stream back up. I'm going to be coming back with a more realistic schedule, where I'm not burning myself out within like 2 or 3 weeks.
Very good idea.
So I'm probably going to come back 3 times a week. Probably a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday type schedule. So make sure to keep your ear out for that. And any closing words, my friends?
No.
Fuck Nazis.
Yeah,
fuck
Nazis.
Not Nazi punks. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Nazi punks, fuck off. Absolutely. Maybe that can be our outro song. Nazi punks, fuck off.
Yeah.
Shout out dead Kennedys. All right, boys.
Right.
We will reconvene on Wednesday, and we will have another episode out for our military week, our week on military, that will be more elegantly named in the coming weeks.
Yeah, we'll
figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure something more catchy out. But until then, catch you boys later. Catch everybody later.
Catch
All
everybody.
right. See you guys later, man. Peace.